a special broadcast on the Yasmin Choudhury channel on YouTube, but this is being actually put out by Lovedesh as we don't have enough subscribers on the Lovedesh YouTube channel yet. So I'm about to read out the open letter that was published on September the 5th, 2021 at 11:36 a.m. British Summer Time. And this is a open letter to those featured in the Lovedesh Hall of Horrors. And you would have been sent this so that you can watch it. Just bear in mind that the letter is about 22 pages. So without further ado, let's get started. And all press inquiries, media@lovedesh.com. Hashtag justice for Yasmin. Lovedesh 10+ files and our claim for damages. My name is Yasmin Choudhury. I'm the Chief Executive of Lovedesh, a British luxury brand on a mission to protect people and planet. I really hope I stay alive after sharing this. For over 10 years, I've been piloting part solutions to global poverty, sweatshops, fast fashion, and climate change, as well as some of the other bigger problems facing 21st century society today, such as climate change, violence against women and girls, by exploring the root causes of poverty both in the UK and Bangladesh, with my little daughter by my side. She was 7 when she first started. Am I one of the most mistreated, bullied women in the world? Some might say yes, judging by the way I have been treated. It is also what some of my doctors and therapists have often told me as they battle the array of harm done to my mental and physical health at the hands of others. I am now writing and speaking formally about the hashtag Justice for Yasmin. It's a social media campaign born out of frustration after a series of damages and attacks on the human rights and anti-poverty work I, a woman of colour, of Bangladeshi and Muslim heritage, have been undertaken all alone within the arena of social impact and international development. And I want to now introduce you to the Lovedesh Hall of Horrors. It's the first of many chapters in the book, a memoir I'm writing called Lovedesh 10+ Files, of my time as the lone British mother trying to deliver good, and the highs, lows, and ugly moments of it all, as well as all the many other halls, where you can view the collections of names and organizations and individuals who either made life hell or heaven or toxic for me. This video is a verbal letter of complaint to all the individuals and organizations listed in the Hall of Horrors, who are some of the worst I have ever come across. And they needed to be revealed on the International Day of Charity so that the world can see how much damage many do to those of us working to help others in need. We want every single organisation and individual in the Hall of Horrors to put right all the wrong and damage done to our human rights and climate change work, and to compensate many of the world's poorest who have since died, whom I sincerely believe would have benefited from Lovedesh's success, but today did not live to see its success. It is their deaths that made me realise and propel me into knowing I had to do something without fear or favour in order to bring to the world's attention just how corrupt and perhaps grasping many of the famous names and organisations have become, as well as my own blood family. Some are better or worse than others, but all of them share one thing in common. They did not do the right thing. In fact, they did a lot of damage. I would also like to formally state that my daughter, Amber Choudhury Kay, is not to be involved nor dragged into this matter, as she is not involved in any way. Also, please do excuse the length, or if I am found to be repeating myself, but while I am a CEO, I also am very proud to share I have an invisible disability, complex PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, caused and done to me because of all the trauma I've been through at the hands of others. It has taken me a while to sort out my thought processes and to write this. I also use voice activation to write much of the Lovedesh 10 Plus files, and therefore please bear with me if there's any grammatical errors. This complaint is also jointly sent by Lovedesh Rana Plaza Victims Group, LRPVG, with their blessing, especially to ensure the direct voices of garment workers, past, present, of Bangladesh, and victims and relatives of those who were killed in Rana Plaza are heard by the world. More about them in due course, but as a quick reminder, their sad, tragic lives are some of the most horrendous I've ever heard in my lifetime. Not just as a mother, but as a businesswoman. Yet many with great power and privilege have caused them and me to suffer. Me, an innocent woman, a single mother, as I keep saying, to find that here I am having to speak truth to power, even though I've been so ill from all of this. It's so upsetting. We are now urgently seeking damages and or restitution from every single one of you named in the Lovedesh Hall of Horrors, which is an online listing of who, what, as well as when, including evidence attached of the harm you did. Because there are receipts you left behind. Such was the sheer arrogance of your entitled conduct. I worked often alone, and to have been reaching out to all of you over and over single-handedly, politely asking you all to please stop and not to harm the vulnerable. In my opinion, it's not okay, but I must continue to do so, as I refuse to also stay silent on the unspeakable conduct and choices that many of you in the Hall of Horrors have undertaken. Regrettably, this letter and address is, of course, now published in the public domain. You and the organisations you lead or represent will also have been sent this link, as you are now featured in the Lovedesh Hall of Horrors. And journalists have been sent this link as well. It has also been released to all social media accounts run by Lovedesh. Hall of Horrors. Many of you may or may not remember me, but I remember each of you because you chose to ignore the concerns I raised, or ignored me when I came to you privately. Some of you even mocked me when I asked for help and you did nothing, or blocked me on social media accounts, even after I presented evidence in private of how you, your organisations, were found to have trampled over Lovedesh, the social enterprise I had created, funded solely from my own pocket, my savings, on a shoestring, as a single working mother. And that is why you or your organisation or your name is in the Hall of Horrors. This list is on the Lovedesh website and due to be updated, as it has its own page on our website. Alongside each of your names will appear a short video showing all the evidence and details of the dispute or harm we have experienced, which to date has been kept private by me until recently, until now, and why each of you need and are invited to compensate Lovedesh and me for the damage done. I would add, we have actually already published the story about red carpet green dress, Susie Cameron and the Oscars, but we'll come to that later. I and the Lovedesh Rana Plaza Victims Group want the world to learn of the damage sustained by Lovedesh and its community of vulnerable beneficiaries, the world's poorest of the poorest, whom you trampled over, bullied or erased. The harm done by you and your organisation to me, as well as my innocent daughter Amber, my projects and the poorest folks I work with, breaks my heart. I want to show the world evidence of these terrible and tragic travesties of justice, and it's one that needs to be solved, as all the people who suffered and missed out on being helped because of your actions are listed in Lovedesh Hall of Happiness. Go and find the array of people we've been helping, working, mentoring, sponsoring, funding, These are the human faces and stories the world needs to now focus on, remember, and find out about. I want each of you to look at them, to understand the ramifications of the choices each of you have made. I will also reveal the numerous legal threats I've had to fend off all alone from some of the biggest names in the world, all because I was doing the right thing. Yes, let's turn to Susie Cameron of Red Carpet Green Dress. She's married to James Cameron, whom, may we add, have had no direct contact with. We in no way are implicating James Cameron or any of his organisations, but Susie Cameron is married to the director of Titanic and Avatar, James Cameron. And Susie Cameron appeared in the movie Titanic briefly and then married James Cameron. And I would imagine benefited from being introduced to the glitterati within Hollywood, and is the founder of Red Carpet Green Dress, an organisation that claims to champion sustainability in the fashion sector and has been featured at the Oscars. I find you, Susie Cameron, to be a bully, to be greedy, horrendous, and, in my opinion, based on the evidence, it is a reasonable conclusion that you should never be allowed anywhere near fashion campaigning or sustainability, nor the Oscars, nor Hollywood celebrities who have no idea of how horrible you have been to Lovedesh, to the Rana Plaza victims, and we find it's not okay for you to show the world two faces. It is terrible what you did, Susie, to use threats of defamation to attempt to silence me, a human rights campaigner who reported wrongdoing to you and to the Fairwear Foundation, a major global fashion campaign organisation that I believe gets millions, because I'd reported a very dodgy campaigner both of you had chosen to work with even after we alerted you that they had hurt the memorial event held for Rana Plaza victims in April 2020. You see, we did an event and it is online on YouTube and it's listed on the Lovedesh website as part of the open letter. You can go and have a look. Yet all of you still chose to put the life of the child, Jannat, a little girl aged 6, at risk, whom we were trying to help by depriving her and her family of funds that were needed to get her medical treatment in 2020. And now we are going to ask you, Susie Cameron and Fairwear Foundation and all others involved, including Tencel, Lux, to pay for this family's relocation to the UK for medical and educational bills. That's correct. Malala and her twin sister Jannat, alongside their parents Ohidul and Mariam, and you'll find out soon who Mariam is, whose sister, aged 13, died in the Rana Plaza collapse. We are encouraging you to fund their relocation and settlement in the UK. So here is evidence, because I've got it up and running. But look, here we have. There we go. Okay? This is all part of the opening letter. And you will see this is the video that we did. It is back to front, but I remember 1136. And the various people were invited to speak. Yeah? It was brilliant to have Dominic McVeigh stepping up and coming and talking. And many others that were also listed. Okay? So please go and watch this incredible event that we did, which allowed people to listen to survivors of the Rana Plaza with my daughter, as you can see. And here we are. And here we go. Here we go. And then for the first time ever, listening to factory owners who had never been platformed, we believe, during the Rana Plaza anniversary, as well as photographers. And most of all, we have on the phone, we had Ohidul, okay? And of course, we will soon come to this lady. We are naming Nazma Akhtar of Awaj Foundation as being deeply unethical and destroying the campaign we'd launched to help Rana Plaza victims. So Nazma, I hope that you understand that these pictures of Rana Plaza, the factory collapse that killed 1,136, which we'll talk about in a bit. This is the video we did on the 24th of April to honour those who had died. But Susie Cameron, what you did was so wrong. I then wrote to the Academy Awards office this year. They ghosted us after we wrote and complained about your disgraceful, horrendous conduct, Susie Cameron, and that of red carpet green dresses, and how of you being a vegan who claims to want to protect the world were doing the opposite, we feel. The Academy Awards stayed silent after I sent them evidence of your bullying. Here it is. Here is evidence, because we sent this link, and I don't know if you can see, but here we go. We have here, I don't know if you can see, a link, and in here is 93rd Academy Award, okay? I don't know if you can see this, but that link, if you go back, you'll be able to find it from the open letter that we have published, okay? So, here we go. The Academy Award stayed silent after I sent them evidence of your bullying. I just showed it. First published in December 2020, then an update on 24th of April 2021. They all allowed you, yet, to mix with all of Hollywood, because I expect money, sponsorship was involved, yes? To find Hollywood elders trampling over poorest brown garment workers of Bangladesh, in my opinion, is racist, classist, and deeply offensive. Do we think that's okay? No. Do we think it's okay for any of you to continue and pretend that what you did never really happened? Or that you get to hide and run away from the bad you did? No, Susie Cameron. I found evidence of you also hiding behind your black British CEO, Samantha Pattinson. She was so weird. Do you know well, you do know, but I'm telling the world. Did you know, world? She even sent emails to third parties about me, who had nothing to do with me and was herself violating GDPR, data rules, international data breaches. For example, she sent a nasty, malicious email to my web developer in Kenya, as well as a few others, about me. And when I naturally queried where such emails had come from, got no reply. Did they hack into your computer, Yasmin, is what some actually said to me. That's what they were saying and asking me about red carpet green dress. As for the horrendous British Asian solicitor Shubhanath you hired, who also joined in an attempt to gag me, both of whom I find are shameful. Shubhanath sent me what some might call a threatening letter by email, as well as a PDF on my WhatsApp. So entitled, so greedy, in my opinion, for legal fees that she wanted to earn during the pandemic. This came straight after the Rana Plaza memorial event for those who had died. I really am looking forward to you, to Samata's, to Shubhanath's apology, or perhaps lawsuits. Either will suit, but I hope all of you wake up and feel ashamed of getting involved in hurting the Rana Plaza victims. I also feel sorry for both of these women of colour, Shubhanath and Samata Pattinson, and I'm more than happy and welcome to train them as they can, I feel, be free of vicious and underhand tactics that clearly they've been taught. I do genuinely believe they think someone like you is doing them a favour. I don't think you are, Susie Cameron. You see, both of these women and their mindset, if you don't mind me saying, need to be free of the, what I call, rot of colonialisation breadcrumbing. A term I use to describe how brown and black women, who often are turned into the Crab and Goyle of the Harry Potter world, are used by often white, do-good, so-called liberal women who claim to be feminists, claim to care about the world, and use my fellow black and brown sisters to control and coerce us as women of colour, and often get them to do your dirty work. At play here are deep, white, racist power dynamics, e.g., the promise of money, status, and access to Hollywood contacts, the very credentials that these two women, Shubhanath and Samantha Pattinson, would obviously use to take them into further areas of global fashion and entertainment arena that you, Susie, must know are to this day closed to the majority of black and brown people, and perhaps why they did choose to conduct themselves so disgracefully. It's not an excuse, it's an explanation, and I also hold them accountable. But the sheer intensity of what I suffered at your hands was nothing compared to also trying to help rescue and save Jannat. Who is she? She was a little girl, victim of Rana Plaza parents, and how you all hurt and damaged their daughter and her well-being. So, if you, or any of you listed in the Hall of Horrors, are going to now attempt to immediately call your lawyers, attempt to sue me, remember, they are all ready to step forward as my witnesses, as it is they too who are upset with you. They are also ready to make sure they protest in Bangladesh, because none of us want this to continue. We want it to stop, and we want what was done wrong put right. I want you also to know that while I'm solving and trying to rescue or reach out and deal with these kind of horrors, I'm also at the same time having to handle trolls. Did you know that? Well, of course. And many more disgraceful individuals and organisations intent on blindly pursuing greed and social status at the expense of me, my work and Lovedesh. They were trying to destroy, derail and damage Lovedesh's work, these trolls. These includes copious amounts of men and women, often in the UK, who, would you believe it, identify as Muslim, which by the way has got nothing to do with beautiful Islam, who come and have been trolling me ever since I went onto TikTok and began to do a lot more appearances online during the pandemic. They know I have an invisible disability and have been often found to be taking excerpts and screen recording from my live streams on TikTok, where I've been discussing how my own British blood brother, Naz Choudhury, along with others in my family, and his wife have controlled my money, stolen my inheritance, my father's assets left to benefit many of the poor, and destroyed many of my anti-poverty projects out in the UK and in Bangladesh, just simply out of spite. All done in 2015, leaving me and my young teenage daughter, a minor, homeless. And I want to show you some examples of these trolls. Again, if you go to the open letter, okay, and you hit play, you will start seeing. There you go.
Welcome, Digger.
There we
You
are.
made a TikTok profile all about me
There.
just to steal my speech from my...
So that was a speech that I was doing, and as you can see, I'm not ashamed to say that I am caught and seen there being very distressed, because that's what happens, the brain flare-up. At some point, we do need to talk about the rise of the toxic brown men and women identifying as Muslim in the UK, often of Bangladeshi heritage. I know this type well, as that is how, as I've said and told and written about many times, my own blood family, cult family, behave. Here is also, while I'm handling all of you, a London-based woman recently called Sarah. She's a makeup artist, British. She's a mother in her 40s, known as Army 20 on TikTok, who I had privately been helping. I'd even set her as a moderator for my TikTok live streams. I even met up with her in person as she complained of being a survivor of domestic abuse. She had told me in private a lot about her hardship, and despite many red flags, because having been a survivor myself, running a charity called She He Stands to benefit people who are suffering from abuse, I began to assist her, help her. But once, and as soon as a mutual contact came to me in private to complain this woman, Sarah, was bullying her, Sarah ghosted me after I'd written to her for an explanation, and I wrote to her privately. I got no answer because I left it alone. But then I was told Sarah, Army Too Old, had begun to also slander me in public on TikTok to people behind my back. Many of them women talking to her, engaging with her, who claim to actually stand up against abuse. I had no idea about this until Good Souls sent me clips, and here I am. I don't know if you can see. Under very unfortunate circumstances, I'm actually doing this YouTube unlisted video. This is because it's been brought to my attention by some very cohort of kind people who have been coming to me in private and saying, Yasmin, are you aware that Ami is talking about you behind your back? And I now want to set the record straight. But also, anyway, we'll just leave that there. You're going through, If you think that is bad, wait until you see Sarah's latest live streams, where she refers to the Lovedesh t-shirt, which I've got to go and get because I've forgotten to go and get it. She refers to Lovedesh t-shirt as SHIT and the work being done for the poorest, and mocks me, fat shames me, mocks my disability, reveals my financial situation, and reveals things I've told her in private as a survivor of abuse, and threatens to contact my abusive family. Prior to that, I, earlier this year, got verbally attacked, also by some British Bangladeshi lads in Bradford, and a petition I even tried to get signed hasn't gone too well because I'm so exhausted from all of you. I hardly got anywhere. But look, let's have a look at this chap here.
They don't even like her. Don't be out about it. Imagine your mother to be like that. Oh, sure, Yasmin. Yasmin, do you want me? They're always fucking up her ass, mate. She's fucking the Bengal guy. She's actually I got to read this Bengal guy. Yeah, let's chat to this guy. See, you will answer. Ah, is he climbed it? She actually private clothes. Hey, mate, bro. Fuck me. Fuck her ass.
So, again, these are young men of Bangladeshi heritage, and they've actually used swear words. And anyway, moving on, had to deal with that. I've also been doxxed. What does that mean? Where my personal data is released online to people. One of whom shared my home address, my telephone number, email, as well as being slandered, sexually harassed. I've been sexually assaulted when I was last in Bangladesh by a member of my own relative, threatened and discriminated against. Again, all these videos are in the open letter. Go and have a look. So much so, I lived out of a suitcase after being doxxed in May for 3 weeks on advice of the Metropolitan Police during my birthday in May 2021. Last year I turned 50, it was miserable, it was hard, it was the pandemic. This year I was living out of a suitcase. My Lovedesh, meanwhile, all the work I was supposed to do, lying in tatters because of the array of trolls. I also have a stalker obsessed with dating me, making fake account after fake account, slandering me, which the Met Police are currently investigating. While a few weeks ago, probably a month ago, I also had what they're investigating is someone pretending to be a fake police officer calling my young daughter. On and on. Between all of this and all the past and all the trauma from the past, which I'm not going to go into right now, some of them are horrific, physical violence at the hands of exes, my family. It has taken me 10 years to try and recover, having suffered from the stress, the anxiety, chest pains, which have seen me have to go into A&E. And I've been left, of course, as I've mentioned, with an invisible disability that was not caused by me, but done to me. Yes, my disability was done to me. I've had to find the courage to fight back, and now here I am. And I'm asking all of you to do the right thing, to confess and own up to what you did to Lovedesh and how you treated the poorest, especially the Rana Plaza victims who should have benefited, as well as the rural villagers. And I urge you, be kind, as I cannot bear any more controversy and hardship. Christmas 2021 is coming. We can do better. You have to. How? Let's go. I'm asking that each of the names in the Hall of Horrors responds to the published set of recommendations to put right the wrong done to Lovedesh, and to note that we are also giving each of you a fair right of reply. We're more than happy to publish your reply for the world to read, in case there's been any misunderstanding or explanation that is missing that can explain why did you choose to hurt the interests of the world's poorest in the way that you did, and why did you hurt my work and that of Lovedesh's. I hope you reply. For now, phase 1 is being addressed to those who have done the most damage, are the most influential, or perhaps wealthiest and powerful in fashion, banking and politics, who should have known better. The others will soon have all the details published over the coming weeks, including my own immediate family, the Alinagar Choudhurys, who have been the most horrendous of you all. Because if my own can behave so horrifically, of course, it was only a matter of time for me to understand and discover that many more of you would follow. My first key target is all those in the fashion campaigning sector. Let's turn to them, as London Fashion Week 2021 starts on Friday, 16th of September. Before then, Lovedesh seeks urgent resolution with those in the fashion sector who hurt us. If Malala can be brought over to the UK in an emergency, as she was, I think, in 2015, so can the Rana Plaza victims. Amazing what the world can do, don't you think, when we all join hands, hey? The only difference is that it is not the Taliban here who have, this time, hurt the world's vulnerable. This time, the world's poorest, who are attempting to educate their own children under great extreme hardship and recover from a life of tragedy, modern-day slavery, sweatshops, has been caused by big foreign rich companies, campaigners, charities, individual based in UK, European Union and USA. Middle-class white women mainly, who have wreaked so much havoc, as well as many white middle-class men. This year, let's now turn to politics and the season of autumnal conferences. It's the annual Lib Dem Autumn Conference, which starts on 17th to the 20th September 2021. And I and the victims of Rana Plaza expect and hope to address its members and ask them that they must investigate what some of their party elders and members did back in 2018 and why they lied to and have cheated the British public in all the elections that they have put candidates forward, who now, many, are members of Parliament. The Federal Party of Liberal Democrats, okay, here they are. Let's go and have a look at them, all right? Here they are, all right? So it's of course, they've used a child's face, and it's such a shame that they have used a poor child's face, but this is the Liberal Democrats, okay? The Liberal Democrats are a political party in the UK who in 2018 chose to sack me without notice. When I was an employee of theirs at HQ, I was working then as the executive assistant to the chief executive. Why did they sack me? I alone had the lone courage to whistleblow on racism and anti-disabled conduct that I had found evidence of within the headquarters and amongst senior party members and others. Only 2 party members helped me. The rest, whom I turned to, ignored me, ran away, ghosted me, stayed silent, or worse still, whispered in corridors about me. I was cut off, I was kicked out of groups, forums, I was left crying and sleepless. Because my income disappeared. Yet today, these very party members, mostly white liberal women who claim to care about human rights, who knew saw and were made aware, including several Muslim men and women, the two brown Muslim women, I am told now, I see are continuing to enjoy their ascent to power. Councillor Hina Bukhari of Merton, I will name, and I want to talk about Councillor Humaira Ali of Southwark in London. Both of them, what they did and how they treated me is disgusting, and as far as I'm concerned, should be stripped of their membership alongside every single person who was told of my dismissal and the fact that I was a whistleblower and did nothing. We'll come on to them. Knowing they hurt and damaged an innocent working mother's life, do you think that's okay for British politicians or British members of a political party to do this? Is that okay? No. I eventually had to take the Liberal Democrats to an employment court to protect my income and reputation after none of the party elders or members, except for the two I mentioned, who did turn up and help me, nobody helped stand by me. I knocked and knocked, wrote and wrote, nobody helped me. As well as, of course, the only other person who helped me was my amazing retired business mentor, a white elderly man who I nicknamed Gandalf. None of their most famous MPs helped. Yes, let's come to then MP Miss Jo Swinson, who, after this incident, would go on to be elected leader of the Liberal Democrat parties, who then represented this party in the general elections at the end of 2018. When I spoke to her, distressed down the phone, to you, Miss Swinson, you eventually went quiet on me. Yes, Miss Swinson, I was broke. I was a single mother. You could have helped. You could have, but no, you focused instead on your bid to be Prime Minister and failed. And when you lost, I want you to know, I did. I whooped in joy. As you are someone alongside others like the Right Honourable Sarah Olney, who is the MP of Richmond. In my opinion, you should not be MPs because what you've done to hurt women of colour is outrageous, and how you gatekeep and prevent good souls is shocking. Seeing eventually that I had no personal funds to fight the legal battle, I actually, in the end, had money from my insurance, house insurance, who paid. I then hired a legal firm, and I want to say thank you because they came on board at short notice. They settled out of court with me for around £20,000 plus sterling. Well, of course they would, as the British judge had ordered a 5-day public hearing. And this money, this pot of compensation, was then used to kickstart my dreams to resurrect Lovedesh after it had gone into hiatus. This pot of money was sunk into Lovedesh and enabled me in the following year, April, to fly out and meet the Rana Plaza victims in April 2019. All of which is documented and recorded and has been published to the Lovedesh YouTube account. Please go and check it out. This political party, the Liberal Democrats, then reneged on the promise made to me in the NDA, non-disclosure agreement, that we had signed in order to settle the legal case, my legal claim. And despite writing and asking them to honour the promises made, they did not. In fact, in 2019, no surprise, they were at it again. Another poor employee, the same person who actually had helped me, came to ask me for help in her own employment tribunal case, which I also helped to settle out of court, as this poor individual, it was so horrific what they did to this employee, was extremely distressed, had no money, no stamina to fight them all alone, because she was fighting them on claims of disability issues and how they had mistreated her on issues of race. And in particular, this was aimed at the Liberal Democrat women. Yes, that's right, she was working for them. I want to now move on to the banking sector. I'm also now asking the British bank Barclays to pay significant damages, to actually stand up and be a business guarantor. This horrendous former employer, this bank account this bank that I used to use for Lovedesh as well, who was also my personal and later business bank, has behaved so irresponsibly and greedily. Its senior executives have chosen, did you know, to shut down the Lovedesh Bank business bank account for no good reason, even though I'd written to them to complain. Without even telling me, they've shut us down. So Lovedesh has no business bank account at the moment. This was even after I reported unethical conduct and the way they were harassing us, and the conduct of their staff, as well as failures, negligence, mis-selling, and poor service. As well as, let's now move on to the Bank of Ireland and the Post Office, who I opened an account with in 2015. They took my own money and then charged me non-stop and failed to protect me as a disabled client. Yet when I attempted to access my money in Bangladesh in 2015, I was left hungry and had nowhere to go. Out in Bangladesh, and I'll talk about the horrors of 2015, which is when my family had to go abroad and they destroyed all my projects. And I remember walking the dusty streets, having nowhere to go, crying and starving. I had no money for food for that day. And with me, there'll be a witness, was Rocky. I'll come on to him in another video. We also go as far as asking and inviting the world to boycott, suspend, or at least to voice concerns about the evidence I present surrounding each of those of you listed in the Lovedesh Hall of Horrors and your unethical conduct. And until you resolve the bad deeds done to Lovedesh, we will continue to pursue and hold each of you accountable and demand restitution, compensation, and that you do the right thing. Why? Why have we done this? Why are we asking that you be held accountable? Why have we gone public? Each of you chose not to solve this privately, even though you are invited to. I've got the receipts, I've got the emails, I've got the letters. I wrote and wrote. You ignored me. We now have a duty to whistleblow and alert other organizations and individuals and the public who may donate to you from working with you, because you did the most damage. And while you have been a problem, the good news is you could also be a part of the solutions, should you wish to take up the invitation I am sending via this personalized message. Now, a bit of background. Lovedesh is a British not-for-profit luxury brand on a mission to protect people and planet. The world's first and only fashion brand endorsed by garment workers of Bangladesh, rural villagers, and disabled rickshaw drivers and many more vulnerable communities. We've been blessed and are in collaboration with victims, survivors, and relatives of those killed when the Rana Plaza factory collapsed, killing 1,136 garment workers. The 1,136, that number is very, very significant to Lovedesh's work. We will come to that in a bit. What is Lovedesh? Well, to help hammer home what or who Lovedesh is, or what we do, imagine, say, Oxfam crossed with, say, Gucci or Chanel. Yes, an award-winning luxury brand that is not for profit, that really does donate all our profits for good, just to boost not only the incomes of those in the supply chain and those who work with us directly, but to give consumers an alternative shopping experience in the luxury sector, specifically that puts people, planet first, then profit in that order, none of which are mutually exclusive. We are also attempting to boost the income of garment workers or anyone working directly, and plan to pilot universal basic income for those who may be jobless, as well as paying as much as possible London living wage. And I hope to be the first CEO within the fashion sector who is willing to be paid, at least until we make significant profits, London living wage, so that we also all are on a similar wage level. We are the 21st century Robin Hood, who take from the rich to give to the oppressed and the poorest. We don't steal, we simply also create jobs in the UK and globally, use our profits and then pass it down to the poorest. While everyone else, I've noticed, has been for years busy ripping off the public, asking for donations, charities lining their own pockets, campaigners, platforming, grabbing the microphone, speaking over the voices of garment workers, Rana Plaza victims, Lovedesh we believe, is the only true safe haven for fashion consumers, people interested in sustainable fashion, and the plight of the garment workers, because our clients will know that everything that we do is done to protect people and planet and involves the very, very people at the grassroots, because they are our stakeholders as well. They directly collaborate with us. I also mentioned that we collaborate, like I said, with survivors, victims, and relatives of the dead who died in the fourth largest industrial collapse, Rana Plaza, some of whose bodies have never been found. Since 2010, did you know every penny received by Lovedesh has been put back into the work being done for people and planet, for the garment workers. We also plan to pilot the idea of universal, like I said, basic income, as well as boost the wages of those in the supply chain, garment workers, weavers, embroiderers. Lovedesh is attempting to pay as many as possible in our direct supply chain London living wages, and I, as its chief executive, have committed to taking London living wage in the first year. A profit share and donation model is how I plan to also distribute wealth. But despite many setbacks, attempts to sabotage Lovedesh, most notably in 2015 by my own blood family in UK, Bangladesh and USA, many of whom are educated professionals. So, Naz Choudhury, his wife Rima Rauf, Yasmin Choudhury, a British solicitor, her husband Enamul Haq Choudhury, who was a Bangladeshi citizen, my elder sister Nasmin's first cousin, they married. She is a British solicitor of NC Law. You've got Yasmin Choudhury, my own twin sister. She is an advisor to Metropolitan Police, went to the London School of Economics, and actually also is formerly a vice chair of the trustees at Gingerbread, the British charity that represents the interests supposedly of single parents, but we'll come on to them in a bit. And of course, we've got Nasrin Choudhury, who is a screenwriter and is currently writing the next Rami Malek movie. Obviously, Rami and his team have no idea what Nasrin Choudhury has been up to and how work is being undertaken by me and many others who are witnesses to the horror that this family have inflicted on the poorest with the help of cousins out in Bangladesh, Faisal Ahmed Choudhury, Fahim Ahmed Choudhury, Faisal's wife Rushi, who knows about it, as well as Saleh Ahmed Khosru and Jahangir Alam Choudhury Jabed. All of them together, some fully, some in whole, some in part, destroyed my projects, my grassroots projects in the villages, threatened our volunteers, trashed our office out in Bangladesh. And thanks to Gandalf and a dedicated army of personal professional mentors, many from charities as well as from for-profit organizations, I, after being made homeless, spent the past few years recovering, trying to resurrect Lovedesh again in 2019 by creating the Lovedesh Tee, the world's first and kindest t-shirt in the world, 100% organic cotton. Our first sample was made by women in a worker-owned factory in Bangladesh in 2019. I created this fashion merch for Lovedesh so it could be the world's first ever and only sweatshop-free fashion brand. And you'll have to excuse me, but I have to go and get this t-shirt, so bear with me, because as you can see, it's completely like this. So here we go. Right, here we go. So there we go. Right, let's look at this t-shirt, okay? So here is the Lovedesh t-shirt, okay? As I said, I created this fashion merch. Look at it as a memorial for the Rana Plaza victims. I flew out in April 2019, showed them this t-shirt, and you'll see that our story is here and on the back, okay? 100% organic cotton, and we always allow our benefit t-shirts. For those whom it will benefit, they help endorse and bless the design. So we wrote Lovedesh in Bengali so that they feel connected to this t-shirt. Okay, we also have a certain color, blue, that they chose, that they only get to wear in this version of the t-shirt. Well, Lovedesh was being created so it could be the world's first ever and only sweatshop-free fashion brand to help garment workers, rural villagers of Bangladesh, disabled, impoverished, talented in Global South and nations in Africa. Look at how proud the folks were in Bangladesh to step forward and support it. Support this t-shirt. Yeah? I don't know about you, but I don't see any fashion brand doing work like us. And why the price and even the dates and times often refer to the numerals in 1136, the number who died in Rana Plaza. So, 1136 is a number that we use. That's why this t-shirt's pricing uses these numerals, because we want to make sure 1136 is never forgotten. And here is evidence of the array of Bangladeshis who stepped forward to in fact, no, let's get this so you watch this. No, because you need to, because the Lovedesh Hall of Horrors, I need your lawyers to see this so you know what you're up against, because at the end of the day, if you're going to try and attempt to sue me, which I think you'll be rushing to try and attempt to do, you need to see what you're up against, okay? Hang on, let's just have a look. Sorry about this. Ugh. Of course, I don't have any posh, nice, decent tech to help me, because every penny is going. So let's have a look. We want to do this. We want to try and... Right, so there we are. Okay. Right, let's go. I don't care, my hair looks a mess. What I'm not able to do is show you. I'm going to try and show you this. Here we go. Why is this in the way? There we go. Right, here we go. Here we go. Right, let's watch it together. Because you should feel ashamed, those of you. In 2020, CEO Yasmin Choudhury was so brokenhearted by those in the UK. Hang on, let's go back. Right. In 2020, CEO Yasmin Choudhury was so brokenhearted by those in the UK, USA and EU who had hurt the work of Lovedesh. She asked Bangladeshis to give their opinion. Rural villages in Bangladesh became the first to test and review it. A memorial t-shirt to remember Rana Plaza 1136 dead victims, designed to combat fast fashion and modern-day slavery. This is what the villagers filmed and sent to Yasmin Choudhury, Lovedesh's British CEO, their friend, mentor and sister figure. There they are. And let's just go. It's a lovely t-shirt. The poorest, everyone loves using this. It's really comfortable. Yasmin Choudhury, when she comes to Bangladesh. There we are. This is the t-shirt. Oh, look, there's Rubel. Habib and Shalim. We'll come to Habib and Shalim, what my family did to them. Sorry, I'm getting triggered because it makes me want to cry. But this is sick. This is why. You're so, you see, I need to take deep breaths. This guy, are you going to laugh at him? Do you know what he is? Do you know who he is? He's 1 in a million. He never had children and he adopted his wife's niece, okay? And he treats her as his own daughter. Look at him. He's always hungry, yeah? So when you think about calling your lawyers, make sure you understand, please. Look, we have gathered to support the Lovedesh. Oh, look, non-stop. He's got no limb. He has no arm. Yep, that's who you... These are all the people. Yep, loads, one after another. One after another. Yep. Okay. Right. So, we're coming on to 1 hour, aren't we? My time. No one's paying me for this time, are they? No. But it has to be done. And I am triggered. And when I'm triggered, my disability, you can see the sweat is coming. It's starting to show. The sweat is coming because I'm also the founder of the following organizations. She, He Stands, a charity for those impacted by THORBD, trauma, harassment, abuse, whistleblowing, bullying, and discrimination. There it is, okay? Yeah? Let's have a look. Oops. Let's have a look. Yeah. Right. And also for Amkariza Foundation, grants that are given for poor talented folk in Bangladesh. Okay, look. This is all the work that I funded alone.
Fab is a new idea from Amkariza, a British charity. It's run by a bunch of ordinary volunteers in their...
You can go and see that video. That's featured in the open letter. And then we have Hate to Love Collective. Okay. There we have it. Okay. Which is a not-for-profit theatre performance production company designed to actually create arts by the broken-hearted. Broken hearts create beautiful arts. Okay. And here we go. Right, so let's go. I'm getting tired, but it needs to be done. I've been dreading doing this. Now, Lovedesh Rana Plaza victims groups. You and your organisation hurt me. You hurt Lovedesh and our projects. Worst of all, you denied and deprived Rana Plaza victims, as well as all the other beneficiaries I've shown you. You hurt my own daughter, who has spent the past few years as a minor, and now is an adult woman having to take care of me at times, or having to use her meagre student loan to help support Lovedesh while also working without wages for Lovedesh to ensure we keep it afloat during the pandemic. First, here is a private video called Ordinary Voices to explain who Rana Plaza are and more about them. Okay, so I want you to go and have a look. This is a private video. I'm not going to play it, but I want you to go and have a look. This was done in 2013, this video. Okay, this video, all right, was done in 2013 in late April after the Rana Plaza collapse. And I remember sitting and doing it. First time, I've never done a film before. I edited it, did a voiceover. I want you please to go and watch it, okay? Because that video is what I would turn to over the years and cry about when I thought I couldn't keep going. And here is a video of the evidence of the array of folks I've spent more than 10 years self-funding and mentoring, and how my lovely daughter Ember chose to spend her 18th birthday party using money she'd been given, working to help me create a sustainable, ethical fashion merch range, which I just showed you. This, okay? All for no pay, all right? Because we went out in 2019, all right? And look, you'll see, there is my beautiful daughter, okay, Amber, and how look, you can go and see it, it's on YouTube. Look, okay? See, I'm getting triggered. Look at me, talking. These are the women who made this t-shirt. They made this t-shirt because we don't rely on reports. We actually fly out, we check, we talk, we make sure that the garment workers are happy when we get things made. All right, now the problem. You can go and see all this video. While I may have been incredibly naive in thinking all of you would have supported me in Lovedesh, I had no idea it would be this bad. I really had no idea that your conduct would reach to stooping so low, that you would hurt the world's poorest. I now realize the severity and extent of damage done by so many is testimony to my resilience and the overarching belief I have had that the power of the good work that has been done will, for now, be enough, and that it would be enough. But actually it was not, because doing good work required me to be in good health, to be fit, and having access to resources, all of which has been depleted because of your choices. Yes, those of you listed in the Hall of Horrors, your choices to attack and or hurt or erase the work Lovedesh has been doing, and to understand the disappointment that I feel that you chose not to be part of this incredible organization. But worst of all, you then work to derail and just erase my work. I am and have been a single working mother for 20 years. I lost my successful city career just because I chose to have a child. The minute I dropped a child, it was almost as if I became toxic, untouchable. I struggled to get jobs. I was also had switched careers and I went and became a single mother and I trained at drama school and I became an actress. But as a single mother, desperate to put food on the table, I later found I got more and more into debt. I was exploited and often used by some of the biggest and richest organisations. So let's go straight to the then CEO of Monster UK. Okay, this is going back in 2007, 8, 9, 10. Okay, who refused me annual leave and forced me to work when I had no childcare during Christmas 2009. Up until then, I was an exemplary employee. These people, the CEO and his staff, and my own direct boss, who took no action, they ended up making me leave my daughter Amber, then 8, all alone in Sainsbury's with the amazing scouts, and later, because I complained, stripping me of my ability to work from home every Friday. I used to do this just so I could go to pick her up without her having to go to after school club, because I would hardly see her at all. All I'd ever do is work. So that was Monster. They sacked me because I complained as a single mother that they forced me to work when I had no childcare during Christmas because my daughter's childcare provider for the first was shut during that Christmas and I'd booked, and because I didn't put it in a form and I'd verbally agreed it with my boss. Then came along Airbnb, who sacked me because they changed my work pattern and insisted I suddenly work at weekends. This all happened in 2011, did you know? The weekends were the only time, again, I, a single working mother, had with my daughter, as she was in full-time school. I wonder what you, Brian Chesky, who interviewed me, by the way, you, Brian Chesky, CEO, will do when you have kids one day. And I don't care about breaking the NDA that I signed. Go ahead and sue me, I'm that fed up. Because it is time the world found out how some tech entrepreneurs make their money on the blood, sweat and tears of desperate mothers. It's not okay, because you know what? I'm going to take a moment and just say Elon Musk, Brian Chesky, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates. I don't think you could cope 2 days in my footsteps. I don't think you could cope. I challenge you. And I'm not trying to be, I really hope, Brian, I really hope any male entrepreneurs out there, you really understand that I would have been successful ages ago, but I had to raise my daughter alone. I also had a family who were actually merciless and violent. And I also have a lot of trolls. And it's not fair because I have insurmountable barriers that none of you. Anyway, moving on. You see, today and in the past few years, thanks to the help of many others in the Hall of Angels, go and have a look at them. These are all the good people, amazing people who have helped me. I managed to get myself a backbone. Did you know that? And I made sure ever since, especially after my daughter was born, that I fought every dodgy employer who thought they could treat us working mothers like crap. It's not just for me I did it. I did and made sure I did it for the next mother who might come along. Because after this non-stop horror show, I soon began to look and think non-stop about the issues of poverty. How even I, a woman who went to a British university, born and bred in London, got great grades, good grades, worked for some of the biggest names in, FTSE companies, IBM, Disney, somehow ended up in hardship. You see, I want to talk about Amber's father now, Robin Stephen Kay, and how he had also abandoned all financial and emotional care of our daughter to me. Yeah. Of course, when I rang up asking the government's agency body, then called CSA, Child Support Agency, why no maintenance payment had been made in 2006, it was suddenly stopped. I was told there was nothing they could do as he had become self-employed and showed no income. Nice little loophole that my ex, the father of my child, exploited. Funnily enough, I do believe, because we met through Barclays, the bank that we both worked at, I believe he took a massive redundancy payout. And when I called up, again, asking whether they can also, the CSA, get a slice of this, guess what the answer came back? No, sorry, we can only touch earning working income. And so the British taxpayer was forced to step in and help raise my daughter via working tax credits, while I became more and more agitated and in debt. So the father of my child, and if you don't mind me saying, his subsequent partner whom he married, I do believe owe a debt to the British taxpayers, because it's not fair that people are allowed to build assets. And to be fair, I've not had any communication with my ex's wife. But all I would say is this is on the shoulders of the father of my child. And the idea that parents who abandon financial care, we need to talk about how those left, we have our assets, our mental health, everything depleted. And that does need to be paid for and recognized. So as I went through all of this, I decided I wanted to give back. I wanted solutions. My acting career was a nightmare. I couldn't really do theatre. I didn't know anyone. I was a single mother. I had no childcare. I was often stressed in auditions. But I decided I'd start looking at solutions for poverty, not just for me, but for the world's poorest. So I became not only a small business owner, startup, to escape the horror of how corporates behave towards us working mothers, but also I quit acting in 2009. And I remember crying because even my agent back then just decided we would part because I wasn't able to make it. I worked, I saved and saved. I sacrificed family holidays, time with my only child, Amber, again, whose banker father had abandoned all financial and emotional care to me. I was left exhausted. It was grueling for me, but still, I began to start thinking about how to solve some of the biggest solutions facing our planet today, as well as boost the incomes of the poorest in Bangladesh and in UK, based on fulfilling the dream of my late father. And let me show you his photograph. I've got it here. My late father, Alhaj Abdul Mukit Choudhury. He is arriving into the UK as a young man. Okay, and what was really sad is that there is a backstory to why I did Lovedesh, and actually it was printed on January the 26th on 2016 by, look, the LSE, okay? If you have a look, the LSE, and there is a story here of how death turned my hand, eyes and heart towards the third world. And the whole story is here. Again, please go and read it, okay? So that's the story of my father. While also working my fingers to the bone at dodgy, big, profitable companies who treated single working mothers like dirt. Yes, Airbnb. Yes, monster. Yet all to no avail, as the damage done to me, a social impact startup, were all unwarranted and specifically designed to hurt me as a human rights campaigner. I know because I wrote and told you, all of you, in the Hall of Horrors about it. You chose to ignore me, ghost me, or attack me. Yet for over 10 years, I've been at the mercy of the most horrendous, greedy, unethical conduct from some of the biggest and most experienced experts in all sectors, who have sought to undermine me, bully me, cheat and steal from me, my work and Lovedesh. Meanwhile, across the 7 seas and many oceans, I began to observe how my Rana Plaza victims suffered colonialist, imperialistic conduct mired with a white saviour complex and were being defrauded, cheated and betrayed, especially, I feel, by the array of fashion campaigners in the UK, Europe and USA, e.g. Laudi's Foundation. Yes, Leslie Johnson, who issued me with a legal threat, a subliminal legal threat in an email to me. Yes, Fairwear Foundation, Alexander, who ghosted me, the executive director. Yes, Ursula de Castro of Fashion Revolution, who when I went to and showed her the whole video and stories about the Rana Plaza victims told me that perhaps she could connect me to her team in Bangladesh, and doesn't realize how racist that is, and the otherization, and how being the only campaigner with Bangladeshi heritage who can speak the language of the garment workers in Bangladesh. Interesting, but we'll come on to her. Aisha Barenblatt, who's blocked me on Twitter on Remake Our World, Clean Clothes Campaign, who again are run by a bunch of white people in the Northern Europe. On and on, I noticed how they bleated about change in fashion, sustainability, workers' rights, using posters of my brothers and sisters in Bangladesh, the brown garment workers, victims of Rana Plaza, but somehow never platforming them, never letting them, sharing the mic, okay? I'm going to do a separate video about them because it's so disgraceful and disgusting, and why they're being told and they are being asked to stop and halt ever talking about Rana Plaza again, because the Rana Plaza are asking consumers to boycott their organizations. I myself have also experienced structural racism, observed classism. Notice how we rarely in fashion see northern or working class white people in positions of power as well. So I'm not going to be one of those people who just talks about race. No. This is about, as you can see, people in the Hall of Horrors. It's all kinds of people, Muslims, non-Muslims, white, there's some black, there's many Asians, there's all kinds of people, yeah? This is a testimony of how greed, corruption, or unethical, immoral conduct works. I've been slandered or just ghosted by many organizations, as well as abused, attacked, trolled, and persecuted for being an empowered female brown Muslim business leader. The hatred and insults from my own family and members of my own community, as well as the disputes with all of you, have often left me, did you know, bedridden, exhausted and ill. Don't believe me? Go and have a look at my TikTok account. Much of my videos are done lying down. It's a common thing. Everyone knows that Yasmin is Yasmin, that's my moniker, on TikTok, is always forever lying down when she does her videos, because I now have an invisible disability. I can get triggered and I can get trauma headaches, and then I find it very heavy, my head, and it's difficult. Now, I want to talk about Accord. Let's now keep talking about the fashion sector and this fight for Accord, the international safety system that the foreign fashion campaigning sector based in the UK, USA, Europe have been obsessed by to help guarantee fair treatment of garment workers. This, by the way, I saw a news report recently, apparently has no legal validity in Bangladesh, nor is it clear if and how they protect whistleblowers. Not many Bangladeshi stakeholder or garment workers, I feel, sufficiently are involved in Accord. Oh yes, they have chapters and unions signed up, they've got a few people nominated, but the real action is really led by white foreign fashion campaigners and white trade unionists who cannot speak Bengali. Many have never been to Bangladesh, running and controlling the agenda on behalf of garment workers and the victims of Rana Plaza. Why nobody has thought to ask, for example, one of the solutions Lovedesh is looking at, let's ask the brands to provide a minimum percentage of profits that gets passed on, or a percentage share to the supply chains, is beyond me. Beyond me. You see, all the money donated to all these organizations, which is running into the millions, imagine you put that all into a pot and you actually just automatically include it as part of their payslip. Just imagine. Just imagine. Just imagine. In the age of fintech, directly enrolling and zapping extra income to garment workers. You see, Global South's trauma, or say the Middle East refugee trauma, especially Africa war conflict victims, is often a signal, in my opinion, for cash signs to appear in the eyes of charities and campaigners. See, money, ka-ching, is to be made. And it's easier taking money from the good souls in the Western Hemisphere who feel guilty about fast fashion, or say feel they're not doing enough. Because notice, it's always the hard-working British public forking into their pockets to try and rescue. And nobody seems to ask questions. I mean, is there a possibility that all of you in the fashion campaigning sector are blindly following the Pied Piper? The Pied Piper. I recently left a comment for AJ Barber. I'll be writing to her, and I was very disappointed by her response, but no surprise because the book that she's publishing, of course, who does it have a foreword or a quote from? Orsola de Castro. Yeah? I wrote and I said to her, because if you're going to examine colonialism, let's look at the fashion campaigning sector. And could it be that many of you are all following the Pied Piper, who in this case has no, I don't know. Where does the money go? How do they get paid? Who gets paid? How much money is being taken? Because at the end of the day, Lovedesh is a not-for-profit, but it's not a kick or anything. We're very much a private limited company. We are a luxury brand, yeah? And at the end of the day, we want to make as much money, but we are making a commitment to pass all our profits down into the business or back into the workers and the supply chain. So when it comes to charities and campaigners, where's the money going? How much have they raised? Why do they need so much money? Why don't they involve people from Rana Plaza? Why don't they involve garment workers? Why haven't garment workers ever come to the UK? Why haven't they gone on a world tour like the one that we will be doing? Oh, yes, we'll come to that because how you all are going to help, hopefully, pay for all of this, okay? I used to watch from afar how before May 2020 as well, not many non-whites were ever invited to the fashion campaigning table, especially during Fashion Revolution Week. It was always fashion campaigners with names like Poppy and Lavinia, whatever. Love those names, but you know what I'm saying, yeah? Always writing and talking breathlessly about their sustainability campaign or passion. And then suddenly, after George Floyd was murdered, all of that suddenly changed. I noticed how suddenly brown and black names were popping up and saying, oh, we're going to do diversity and we're going to do campaigns. And then, because by then Lovedesh has got all its work out in the public domain, we noticed creeping in projects being run the way that Lovedesh was doing, which is reaching out and attempting to do grassroots work. Even the British High Commissioner in Dhaka, Bangladesh, you know, the leadership of Robert Chatterton Dixon, he stuck his oar in. Did you know that in 2019? What a mess, what a cluster mess. He and his wife, Teresa, stole my fashion event idea to benefit others. His wife was incredibly racist. Yes, you are, Teresa, and colonialist towards me. I know that because I was in a private meeting with her, one-to-one, okay, in September 2019. I flew out, and fashion, I notice how it's supplied by garment workers in Bangladesh, fast fashion, and how Rana Plaza anniversary of those who died on April the 24th is often commemorated, talked about, but somehow they've become untouchable and erased in the eyes of foreigners. I mean, can we ever imagine a day when victims of, say, American school gun massacres, just say, would be replaced by, I don't know, black campaigners, or say those, say, in nations in Africa who then suddenly start speaking and campaigning on their behalf and doing events in Africa? Can you imagine that? Can you? Any of you? Fashion Revolution, Remake Our World, Fair Wear Foundation, Laudi's Foundation. Can you imagine that? Or that perhaps victims of, you know, that terrorist attack, that awful terrorist attack of the Ariana Grande's Manchester concert. Can you imagine if we had people in Bangladesh, brown people, suddenly arranging events and doing, I don't know, anti-terrorist revolution week, yeah, in Bangladesh, and then just publishing pictures of those who died at the Ariana Grande Manchester concert? Do you think that would ever happen? That would never happen. Look at the way, by the way, beautiful Ariana Grande treated the victims and relatives of those who were killed at her concert with grace and dignity. She involved them every step of the way. She had their best interests at heart. Yet time and time again, the real-life Rana Plaza victims are erased by the biggest names in fashion campaigning. And I'll explain why. My fight isn't really with the fast fashion. It's actually with the fashion campaigning sector, which is absolutely unfit for purpose, needs dismantling, and needs a huge investigation, hopefully by the British Parliament, because it's not okay to mislead and missell the British public. Every April 24th, as you know, is the anniversary of the tragedy, and when it approaches, it sees so many disgraceful fashion campaigners climb on the board to raise funds and remind the fashion consumers never again. Yet at no point has anyone, until Lovedesh came along, thought to involve the victims who died that day, to give them voice, to give them platform and power the way we are doing. For example, there's a video of them wearing this T-shirt, or to even hold a remembrance event. We hold a 1-minute silence now every year for them. That happens outside of Bangladesh. Nobody does it. What a disgrace. And yes, I, again, am looking at you, Ursula de Castro, Leslie Johnson of the Loudest Foundation, Aisha Barenblatt of Remake Our World, Tamsin Lejeune of Common Objective, Susie Cameron of Red Carpet Green Dress, as well as Alexander of Fairwear Foundation, Clean Clothes Campaign. Oh my God, there's so many of them. There's so many. It's littered. It is a money-making venture. And I'm sure your heart's in the right place, but at some point you have betrayed the very cause you set out to do. And again, I want you to know the Rana Plaza victims endorsed me saying this to you directly. Read my lips. They asked me to give this message to you. This is how they feel, and they're asking the world to boycott each of your organizations, and that you never, ever have any involvement with Rana Plaza victims or mention their names ever again. And by the way, Fashion Revolution Week, we are moving to make sure that you remove that Fashion Revolution Week, because it will now, well, we come on to that, be named something else, because the Rana Plaza victims are taking over that week, April the 24th. Many of you, by the way, were invited to our memorial 1-minute silence in 2020, but you dismissed the work Lovedesh has been doing with Rana Plaza Voices, and some of you, Tamsin was too busy of Common Objective. Of course, Osolo had sent me off to Bangladesh and said she'd keep me on file, but she never did. No. And as for Safia Mini of People Tree and a few hours, others, what they did is so shocking, and how they attempted to hijack the 1-minute memorial we did in 2020 for their own name. And so now me and the Rana Plaza victims seek significant damages or assistance. Do you know, while we're getting on to 1 hour, 60, 70, 80, 1 hour, 20 minutes? Because, come on, we're looking to raise, millions from this. We now present a series of requests we are asking of each of you in the Hall of Horrors, and also plan to write to all funders to ask that they halt donating money if your organisation is a charity or a fashion campaigning, or in any way a charity that is involved in fashion campaigning, as well as those who actually might have gotten funding for domestic violence. I'll come on to that in a bit, as this is not in the interest of Rana Plaza victims who wish to take control of campaign funds generated regarding any event that mentions their trauma or name. And just in case there is lashback, here is a shorter Lovedesh Rana Plaza victims group message to those who hurt me, Lovedesh, and the work I was doing to assist them, and what they have to say about their experiences at the hands of you and your organisation. This goes out to all of you, so I hope you're watching, okay? So let's watch this together, all right? Because this was sent, and many of you just ignored me, all right? You didn't even bother to, let's have a look. Where is my cursor? Oh, gosh, where has the cursor gone? Here we go. Yes, there we are. Here we go. Oh, gosh, that's not working. Right, so we have to, hang on. Right, so this might explain why I need funding, okay? Because we really, really are attempting to show you this. Okay, oh, I know what I should do. Let's take this out. That's what we do. Right, here we go. That's what I should do. Okay, there we go. Right, I don't know why I didn't think of this. Yes, Apple, we'll talk to you in a bit. This film was recorded by a former female Rana Plaza garment worker. On April 24th, 2013, she did not go to work in the Rana Plaza factory. She was at home unwell. That day, she lived, but her teenage sister was working that day. She was killed, along with 1,136 others. Hang on, let's just have a look. Bangladeshi garment workers when the Rana Plaza factory collapsed, many who died were destitute working mothers. Yep, let's go. The Lovedesh tee, the kindest, fairest sweatshop t-shirt in the world, a luxury fashion memorial t-shirt designed to protect people and planet. And look, Amber and her friends. This was also damage done to the work by Hate to Love Collective. So you can read all of this, okay? Let's just cut forward and let's see what they have to say. All right? Upon being informed of the damage done, here is the response from some of the victims and survivors of the Rana Plaza factory collapse, one of the most deadly human rights and modern-day slavery. Did you understand that? It says, an enemy of Lovedesh is an enemy of ours. Hurting Lovedesh is hurting us Rana Plaza victims. Any legal threats issued to Lovedesh is also a legal threat issued upon us. Causing pain to Lovedesh is causing pain to us. And you can hear a female voice saying, louder, louder. Just so you know that this is something that they were very, very happy to come forward and do. Helping Lovedesh helps us. Lovedesh will issue you all an invitation. And look how we work with the Rana Plaza victims. This gentleman, it's so sad. Yep, she lost her son. Anyway, let's just carry on with this traumatic time of having to tell you all exactly the damage and why we are seeking compensation. Okay? So, here is the longer story of how they gathered with food and refreshments paid for by Lovedesh to discuss how they regained their narrative, their joy at a t-shirt, the Lovedesh tee, made to honor and remember their co-workers who died, and the anger they showed of how their trauma has been financially exploited by many fashion campaigning organizations based in the UK, EU, and America, and how many remain disabled, sick, hungry, jobless, and in poverty. So the fuller film is right underneath, okay? They have also, the Lovedesh Rana Plaza victims groups, vowed that should any harm come to me or my sudden death, as I've been warned by good souls that exposing famous names or organizations could get me killed, I really hope it does not come to that. We, myself, Lovedesh, and the Lovedesh Rana Plaza victims group are now instead inviting you to put right the damage done as we want to move on. And for those who will now rush and scramble to bleat, oh, it wasn't me, or point fingers at others, it's all too little too late. Your transgression began the moment you knew, yet did nothing about it. You see, my father, my beloved father, Al-Hajj Abdul Mukit Choudhury, told me this. His version, it was in Bengali, but all it takes for evil to flourish is for good people to do nothing. Or, as Bishop Desmond Tutu said, if you are neutral in situations of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor. If an elephant has its foot on the tail of a mouse and you say that you are neutral, the mouse will not appreciate your neutrality. Doing nothing and turning a blind eye is how, also in my opinion, Hitler killed my beloved brothers and sisters who are Jewish. Doing nothing and turning a blind eye is how genocide and corruption flourishes, with the aim of killing all that is good in our society, in humanity. We've got to stop it. I want to now turn to evidence. Here is a list in Lovedesh Hall of Happiness of all those in need, okay, whom I was helping or in talks with. Now, I'm going to show you the Lovedesh Hall of Happiness because every time I want you to understand, okay, this is what I need you to see, the list. It keeps, I don't know how many names you can count, but look. This is dedicated to all the people Lovedesh has attempted to help who have been prevented from getting aid and assistance due to the actions of those listed in Hall of Horrors and Hall of Trolls. Soon a video will appear of founder and CEO Yasmin explaining what assistance was provided, the social impact made, and what damage was done. So let's look at all the people that I've been helping over 10 years. I have a direct relationship and stories about that will be coming and written about in the Lovedesh 10 Plus files, my memoirs. The artisans, embroiders, okay? I should add that's from Kenya to Palestine to Kashmir to Bangladesh to those in the UK. AMC Wildlife, look, just keep going, right? These are names of people. Look, look. These are real life people. They all know me. They all have met me. This is not just, this is grassroots work that has all been suspended, has had to be halted, has had to be postponed, or actually was damaged, derailed specifically. All of them, every single person. Lovedesh is committed while I am alive to ensure we do right and we return to going back. Especially what makes me sick is the surfer girls of Cox's Bazar that I met many years ago and the promise I made to build them a school. These are young girls aged 9, 10, some of whom are used and often preyed upon by predators, pedophiles, to keep them safe, educated. They love surfing. Yes, Muslim girls of Bangladesh. Yes? Look, Shaira, the single mother, the cook. Oh, yes, Suhel, Shepu, Shahida. Ah, Lulubabi. We must mark up the ones who died. I will put that, actually. Shahida died this year, and this is why I sat down. Who else died? Ah, look at that. There's Ainul. Yep, Ainul was a gentleman. Is Ainul there? Let's have a look. Where is Ainul? Can someone... Where is Ainul? There is Ainul. Yep. I'm going to show you Ainul's picture. Oh, yeah, he's dead now. He's dead now. Right? Constantly. Who else died? Oh, I know what. My Rustum and Jolly. Let's get to Jolly, a child. I held her in my arms in 2019, and my horrendous family allowed her death. Okay? Because her father works for my family. And we will come on to that because I hope they get charged with neglect and manslaughter. Then we also have Rustum, the saddest story of the orphan Rustum, who was married to another orphan all his life and then died because he had a heart attack, because he was harassed and bullied by my family. And yep, keep going. Yep, Shamali. She's the 13-year-old sister of Miriam, who died, whose body's never been found, was working for Rana Plaza. Okay, so let's go back, all right? Because I'm getting tired, and I want you to know that, as you can see, I'm going to probably start sweating. I'm going to get very angry because this is the damage done. A reminder, please, that if you're going to feel upset about this video and what I'm having to say to those of you listed in the Hall of Horrors, I'm here speaking for those who are voiceless, who are dead, who are not helped. I'm really sorry I can't be sitting here worrying about your feelings and your anxiety now. It's a scandal. Everything will now has to be played out publicly because you have lost the right for your unethical actions to be kept private. I would also remind that anyone who is critical or feels uncomfortable about having to read this to put themselves in the positions of either myself or the Rana Plaza victims. We did nothing wrong. We were just trying to make things better, not just for the planet, but for millions of workers in the fast fashion sector, as well as for the poorest in the UK. And I will not apologise, nor will I back down in helping to platform, promote and protect the interests of the poorest, who until now have rarely been involved in charity and activist campaigns directly, due to the structural privilege enjoyed by many who have come from a privileged background and because of the colonialist attitude within the international development charity sector. I, Lovedesh, by the way, we don't operate smoke and mirrors. I do possess evidence, and it is not a crime to tell the truth. But we do ask that various stakeholders within the British and American judiciary, they consider and scrutinize now the vexatious and spurious defamation claims often brought by rich claimants in an attempt to bully and intimidate whistleblowers and human rights defenders in order to gag wrongdoing being done by them. It's not okay. There can be, we can't have this. Therefore, evidence has been and will be uploaded to the Lovedesh website as part of the Lovedesh 10 Plus files. Yep, that includes emails. That includes, of course, I will not be sharing anyone's email addresses, but no, everyone needs to see the text because I need to make sure people understand who I am, what my reputation is, and just how people operate because they think I don't have the guts to risk it all by publicizing this. Yeah? I'm not scared. What are you going to do? Take my house? Take my money? It's all gone anyway already. I don't care. What I do care about is doing the right thing. So I want to now move on because it's getting very long, isn't it? Look at that, 94 minutes. The Lovedesh Compensation Fund. Today in 2021, Lovedesh is seeking significant damages for you and your organisation's role in hurting the human rights and anti-poverty work that was being undertaken to help assist the poorest communities that we serve, and that you investigate the individuals within your organisations who harmed me and the world's poorest. I also ask the British government and the American and the relevant European nations. Okay? The compensation amount can be paid, okay, into our crowdfunder below so the public can see the evidence of you paying in. So we've put the, it's on crowdfunder, and you and or your organisations, as we've already explained, have been entered into the Lovedesh 10 Plus files, which features the Halls of Horrors. This is a personal memoir I'm writing that stretches across the decades, which details the horrific and horrendous treatment I experienced as I began to build Lovedesh. But I'm trying to ensure that the chapter, which will detail my interaction with the organisations and the individuals named here, will be written kinder than any of you ever were to me. These damages and suggestions that we're about to ask for and make are warranted for one or more of the following categories. Who did what, and the story on each of you is listed on the website and will have a video accompanying it, as well as evidence. Okay, sorry, there's a bit of repetition, but let's talk about some of the themes of what we suffered. All right, me, the Rana Plaza victims, disabled rickshaw drivers, rural villagers, the poorest communities we're working with. Here's the kind of stuff that I saw in terms of the unethical, corrupt conduct. First of all, abuse. So there are people listed in the Lovedesh Hall of Horrors, all right, who are guilty of either sexually harassing or assaulting me, as well as physical and verbal abuse. I want to be very clear that is limited to the Choudhury family of mine. Okay, no one else. All right. Next category, hurting the poor, depriving the world's poorest in Bangladesh, some of whom have since died or remain disabled, sick and in need. Please see Lovedesh Hall of Happiness, the array of diverse, talented but impoverished individuals we had been working with to help transform their lives, who today, Lovedesh can't help them because we're so damaged, derailed, and we have no money. Next category, destroying and damaging charity campaigns, Save Jannat, Shut Up for Rana Plaza. This is what many of the fashion campaigners did. They destroyed Jannat's chances to be treated for kidney issues in 2020 by Great Ormond Street Hospital in London for medical treatment. She was then aged 5 and a child of mother and father Rana Plaza victims whose own maternal blood aunt died aged 13. Shamali, do you remember her? In the collapse, whose body was never found. Also, the destruction of the Amkariza and Lovedesh field projects in 2015. Okay, so that again, just that was done by my family. Next category, evidence I possess of cheating, stealing, copying my ideas, my thought leadership, infringing Lovedesh's moral rights by ripping off my idea, basically theft of IP. I'm looking at you, Love Productions. I'm looking at you and the way you created the program Chronicles of Nadia back in 2015. And how you ripped off Lovedesh, and therefore we want significant damages from Love Productions, okay? Next category, classism. Oh, I want to mention as well, we are also sending an email to Nadia Hussein, okay, and her agent, Anne Kibel, who actually endorsed and said that she supports the decision taken by Love Productions, and they erased our work and stole our idea. And apparently Anne Nadia Hussein's agent didn't see that there was anything, there was no merit to my claims. Well, we're going to go through the evidence, aren't we, Anne? And we're going to make sure that Nadia pays back the money and ensures that everyone knows what kind of management team Nadia Hussein has been being looked after. Okay, but we do want to explain that at no point have I had any direct contact of Nadia, and we would also urge Nadia Hussein to urgently let Lovedesh know if she can provide us with evidence that she didn't know about this. Okay, there we are. Otherwise, we're going to assume Nadia Hussein did know, because I've got an email from her agent saying, well, yeah, we stand by what Love Productions have done to Lovedesh. Next category, classism, colonialism, racism, and otherization, erasing the work done by me, a woman of colour, a single mother. Another category of offences, complicity and silence. This is where we see many of you in the Lovedesh Hall of Horrors. While you might be confused saying, what am I doing in there? That's because you turned a blind eye and refused to get involved and you said nothing. So you know what? No, because you were told and you knew the work I was doing and who it was designed to impact and who we were collaborating with. So if you did nothing, that means you are just as bad as those who proactively hurt us. Next category, detriment and deprivation, knowingly destroying the current and future income of Lovedesh, of my career and the well-being of our beneficiaries and their future income. Next category, bullying and gaslighting, issuing me with legal threats or slandering me, my name, refusing to attend. Oh, no, let's talk about legal threats. So I've had legal threats from Susie Cameron, red carpet, green dress, Prospect, the trade union, Mike Clancy, we'll talk about that later. Who else? Yasmin Choudhury hired solicitors to gag me from talking about my my experiences as a victim of domestic violence at the hands of my family, and also her involvement in turning a blind eye. So that's Yasmin Choudhury. Oh gosh, there's more. Obviously there was the Liberal Democrat. Then I had, oh my God, my employment cases. But there's more. I know that I've received other letters. We'll come to that. The next thing, refusing to attend Rana Plaza Victims Memorial event when you're a fashion campaigner. That's so disgusting. And then going and raising funds using their name. As far as I'm concerned, some may call it, quote marks, have called it fraudulent, have called it mis-selling, have called it misleading the public, okay? You've been going around raising money, but you've cut out the very victims. I just can't. Next category, dumping on others. See Lovedesh Hall of Angels for the sheer array of good souls, charities who have helped support, mentor me or Lovedesh. Some are in their 70s, white men. Some donated. Some even paid money to help Amber, my daughter, when I could not afford to help her. Without them, I would not have survived. Do you know, by hurting me, you then cause me to go and take my problems and dump on others who are limited in resources, energy. That includes charities, business mentors. There's a whole host of people who help me. There's a whole host of people who have had to, for example, also go without getting their fees paid, their bills paid, because Lovedesh has been struggling to keep afloat despite all the attacks. Well, that's why the whole world is going to find out about who they are. And we're going to be giving a big shout. And the Rana Plaza victims can't wait to come to London and say a big thank you to them and actually tell the whole world that these are some of the best organisations in the world. Okay, so I want to give a special shout out to XLN, to Focus for One, Vanessa, the founder. Who else has been helping me? My mentor, Gandalf, and Adrian, and Gandalf actually is called Peter Roche, incredible man who's been by my side for 5 years. There's someone else called Anthony. I've forgotten. They're all in the Lovedesh Hall of Angels. Go and check them out. None of them know the degree to what I've gone through. Only Gandalf a little bit, but even then they don't know 95% of it, and they're going to be shocked to find out that I've gone through all of this without telling them. Who else? Julian Bond, who's been a great, all our Lovedesh ambassadors who gave up their time and are probably wondering, well, I modelled this T-shirt for Yasmin back in 2019. What's she done with it? It's all gone quiet. She talks a lot. She seems to. Oh, and the People's Republic of Bangladesh and many of the civil servants who have helped us, and some of the police officers, especially the ones in Gulshan, Dhaka, who have been absolutely phenomenal, as well as the airport armed police. My God, there's so many people in Bangladesh who have helped us, and the journalists. Kalor Kantor, my friend Masood Rana, Masood Rumi. Oh my God, you've got to go and check them out. The array of Bangladeshi men and women, good souls who have helped me. Next category, fakery, fraud, mis-selling. Stealing my hard-earned money and income for your dodgy services or products, or covering up issues of fraud when I reported it, or sending me faux messages. Okay? So, what do I talk about that? That is actually to do with private limited companies. So, for example, I showed you Apple. Apple knew there was a fault with their keyboard, and you know what, despite crying and saying to them, look, I've got a disability, you sold me a dodgy keyboard, laptop version, which you withdraw, and I want a new one, they refused. Okay, so Apple, you need to actually pay us compensation because you had a job, you had a duty. This laptop, look at the keyboard. At times I couldn't even use it. Okay, I had to get a remote keyboard. Okay, so we've got Apple, Vodafone, O2, oh my God, who forced me into an IVA because of their disgusting decisions. Barclays, the bank, Vodafone, O2, who else? There's loads of British Gas, who've been sending debt collectors round, the Mayor of London and the TfL congestion team. All of you, yep. Harming, causing distress and harm to my own health. I now have a permanent invisible disability, but you also cause distress to the victims of Rana Plaza. Ghosting, just going silent, refusing to engage, respond, or resolve when we reached out for you. Sweatshops, enabling modern-day slavery and the neglect and death of the poorest on your watch. Now, this sweatshops is to do with my family. Okay, so there are certain things I'll make a distinction because it's not fair for those of you lumped in the Hall of Horrors. Okay, I want you to imagine it's like a museum and a picture of all of you I have in my head. And all of you, when I see it, just makes me triggered and makes me want to vomit, quite frankly. But some of you are more worse than others. And I promise you, my family are by far the worst. And they have been, and I have evidence of them undertaking modern day slavery, running sweatshops, okay, out in Bangladesh. These are British citizens, and I want to know, I want you all to know that that's what's going on. But I also want to talk about Boohoo, by the way, who ran a sweatshop in Leicester, and somehow nobody's saying anything. Anyway, violating and erasing voices of victims for greed, power and status. Gosh, I'm getting so tired. Talking over the Rana Plaza victims and depriving them voice. So now we ask you, do the right thing. What does that look like? Here's what we invite each of you to consider doing to help put right the wrong done. Finally, solutions. So before you start calling your lawyers, I promise you there is a way out. There is a way out for you to recover this with some dignity, because I'm not about cancelling people, but I do believe people need to be given the opportunity to put things right, to make it better. And I know it's stupid, but I still have faith in humanity and thinking that we can all be, to some extent, resolved and create greatness from this. So hopefully you will put right the wrong done by considering the invitation below to pay damages, as well as the other suggestions. So first up, number 1, cough up and be contrite. Lovedesh is seeking to raise at least £11.36 million plus in damages from a combination of organisations and individuals who hurt us. We know that there is enough money for you all to do this. Number 2, a business guarantor is needed for our Retail London HQ promises in central London W1. It's going to be a pioneering world-first museum and fashion store. More details to follow. How exciting. Come on, think. It's exciting. And yes, the Rana Plaza victims are going to be involved in this. Number 3, say sorry. We want a public apology and a meeting in person, which we will publish on this website. We want to have a meeting in person, and the Rana Plaza victims need to be there. Number 4, sign up. We're asking all fashion campaigners of all ethnicities to sign up to the Rana Plaza and Garment Workers Protocol by Lovedesh. So it's going to be called the Lovedesh Rana Plaza and Garment Workers Protocol. Until then, we ask that all fashion campaigners halt all campaigns or mentions of Bangladeshi garment workers or Rana Plaza, because they and I deem it deeply racist, stigmatizing and deeply problematic. It's tone deaf and colonialist. If any media or event seeks opinions re Rana Plaza, these must come from the victims themselves, and Lovedesh is happy to arrange this, as well as ensuring you use photographs to be taken by existing Bangladeshi photographers, not foreign photographers being sent out to Bangladesh, okay? And whenever you are using an image of a dead garment worker or victims of sweatshops, a donation is has to be made, okay? Because we know that photographs of the dead are owned by the photographers. But if you don't mind me saying, I think it's terrible. I don't believe that pictures like that should be taken without some kind of formal donation always being given to the family of the dead. All right, we'll talk about that later. All right. Number 5, seek permission. We now ask that any foreign organisation outside of Bangladesh wishing to fundraise or create a campaign in a manner that either refers to or involves Rana Plaza community puts forward any proposals to Lovedesh so that the victims can consider this and give permission. So that is a mandate that has been given by some of the victims of Rana Plaza. We have more to collect, and a banner is going up in Bangladesh at the Rana Plaza site to announce this, okay? And that we will be having this banner urging the Hall of Horrors to do the right thing. Number 6, funding. Yeah? Never again raise funds without the permission of Rana Plaza Victims Group. The Lovedesh Rana Plaza, please don't. Number 7, embargo, April 24th. Please do not undertake any fundraising events outside of Bangladesh during the week of the anniversary of the factory collapse, which now in 2022 will be called I Remember 1136, and no event can occur during this week without the involvement of Lovedesh and Rana Plaza. And if you have, for example, already begun to raise funds for events in 2022, the Lovedesh Rana Plaza victims groups want them administered by Lovedesh, who will involve them. They are now seeking you hand over all the funds to Lovedesh. Okay, because that will be going towards events that they plan to host, run, and collaborate in with Lovedesh. How the funds have been earmarked. Gosh, we're getting to the end. Our original plan and webinar in 2020 has been utterly hijacked and sabotaged. We invite everyone who hurt us to join in to help the work that I'm doing to help not only the Rana Plaza victims, but also the poorest and most disadvantaged factory workers. And by doing so, we are more than willing to forgive and move on from the damage that these individuals and organisations in the Lovedesh 10+ files caused to us. If you or your organisation wish to assist with these programmes, please get in touch. It is about time that the London fashion scene is seen to be welcoming and hosting those in the supply chain. We're looking at you, London Fashion Week. In 2019, you ghosted us. So therefore, you're one of our priorities as well this week, okay? That I'll be reaching out to Caroline Rush, the CEO, and saying, what are you going to do to make sure that the voices of the garment workers are present at London Fashion Week, okay? From the bottom up, please, okay? We welcome contributions from those who are experts in the field of human resources as well as international relocation. And here goes. I'm also 51 years old. At some point, I wish to retire or have a more peaceful life. And therefore, as a gesture of goodwill, I'm sharing just some of the pioneering projects I alone have crafted. It's my thought leadership to solve and combat, to some extent, fast fashion, climate change, and many more problems. It's my thought leadership as a philanthropist, as a social impact business leader, which I hope you will support and see the value in. And I want to also say I'm very proud to share I've been inspired by Islam. I believe in women's rights, not because of white feminist voices, but because Islam and the Quran was the first time I connected to understand the need to fight and get equality for women. Islam. So, Lovedesh obviously is apolitical. I just happen to be Muslim, but I want you to remember I am a woman of colour. I'm very proud of my Bangladeshi heritage. I was born and brought up in London, educated, but we can also come all together right across the world to rescue our people and planet. So, number 1, here goes. The good news at last, okay? Getting very hot. Lovedesh Maison is coming. That's right. Lovedesh's first head office, HQ store premises. We wish to immediately open a luxury fashion museum store in central London at a very prestigious address that we are in talks negotiating with to honour and remember the enslaved garment workers and those who died. It will be the world's first ever retail concept specifically designed to protect people and planet, to showcase sustainability at its finest. We've found a WC1 postcode address. We need 11.36 million minimum, and we need a business guarantor. So I'm looking at London Fashion Week, Barclays, Fashion Revolution, Remake Our World, all of you to find sponsors for us. It's not going to be my headache, it's going to be your headache, okay? So there are many big organizations who will happily, I think, back this idea. And we will showcase and fast-track solutions that protect people and planet, and we expect it to be sustainable from all the products that Lovedesh will be selling that are sustainable. This covers food, fashion, and, would you believe it, travel and events. Okay? So, number 2, we are also going to be funding, with the money, a Lovedesh Artisan Studio. This program aims to relocate as many former garment workers and hard-up talented artisans as we can away from sweatshop factories in Bangladesh and back to their rural villages, because that's what they've asked for. First, they will need to retrain, learn either face-to-face in London and or online new skills, one of which is weaving. We are due to be flying in weavers, rural villagers for some industrial placement sabbaticals so they can run these training sessions in Bangladesh. We then expect to expand it out to other countries as well. And we expect to hopefully one day attempt to pay them all London living wage to help us produce Lovedesh haute couture range, as well as our luxury fashion accessories that will hit the red carpets, will be worn by VIP celebrities, which will also sell in the Lovedesh Maison. That's right, Lovedesh is going to go straight to the red carpets. We are also hoping that the Academy Awards, strikes out red carpet green dress, and we are asking officially that Lovedesh comes in and we begin to be the organisation with the collaboration of the Rana Plaza victims on the red carpet. It's the least that can be done, okay? Because sometimes in life you don't ask for permission, you don't request, you just ask to take the seat at the table, and we're asking. So that's the Artisan Studio. We plan to establish demonstration space inside the Lovedesh Maison store so that consumers can meet some of these skilled artisans, because it's about time we push more money down the supply chain. This visit to London will provide mentoring and training placements for talented yet disadvantaged artisans, factory workers, working on sustainability solutions and artisanal handicraft items for Lovedesh. We already have plans to bring artisans also from Kashmir, Palestine. There's a bunch of women who embroider, and we know of fashion brands who have exploited their heritage skills, and it's not okay. We want to bring artisans from Bangladesh, and many more nations are on standby, one of which is, for example, we want to try and help the Maasai tribe in Kenya. So I want to remind you, Lovedesh is not just for Bangladesh, it is a global operation, like Oxfam, working right across the world, but purely as a not-for-profit luxury brand where we make as much money as possible to pass it down and to help create jobs and pay income. We then return those who might come to London for training to their home nation, and will use funds raised for their flights, their medical care, their accommodation and wages. That's right, lots of money, because, you know, we're looking at solutions here. We don't want a campaign, no, trade unions, you know, pipe down, because guess what, right? Let's also try and get the garment workers so they are seen to be taking control, not foreign trade unions speaking on behalf of brown and black people. And by the way, trade unions are very racist and run by very, I don't care how socialist they are very, very snotty, many of them, and are clueless. And I will talk about my experience when I was a trade union Congress representative at the southeastern region for the Trade Union Congress on behalf of Equity. Equity are lovely, by the way. Upon returning them to their homeland, we know we can help boost the incomes of others. They will be supported by teams at Amkariza Foundation. Ta-da! And slowly establish themselves within their local economy and be empowered business owners supplying Lovedesh. That's right, because it's got to be sustainable. So when people and clients buy from Lovedesh, they know that they're also helping to make sure we give orders to the very people we trained up, who we've sent back to Bangladesh, to nations in Africa, who'll be stitching, weaving for us while they are happily in rural villages, probably, you know, with lovely organic vegetables, not having to take ugly buses polluting the city into factories, okay? We are also working in rural areas to reach the hardest hit poor communities, both in the UK, for example, Lowestoft, we're looking at Bradford, Cornwall, as well as West and Central Africa and the global south, okay? Other nations in the global south. India. Did you know that? We're looking at India because after the pandemic, many orphans are at risk. So we are looking at how maybe we can also rescue weavers and artisans out there. Number 4, Rana Plaza trust funds. We will set up trust funds for the children or next of kin of the Rana Plaza workers who were killed, who should have benefited from the income Lovedesh was due to earn, as well as the income being earned by big famous fashion campaigners who hosted events around Rana Plaza. We also asked for an additional 11.36% of all revenue earned by any fashion campaign organization that excluded the involvement of Rana Plaza Victims Group to be paid into the Lovedesh Compensation Fund so we can fund grassroots fashion tour. See below. Okay? So I want to be very clear. If you are a fashion campaigning organization in any way, shape, or form, and you did an event during the anniversary of those who died during Rana Plaza, okay, in past income, yeah, not including 2021 or 2020 itself, prior to that, we will claw back and seek 11.36% going straight into the trust fund to benefit Rana Plaza victims. 2021, we would like all funds. Sorry, let me be clear. From 2013 until 2020, the Lovedesh Rana Plaza victims want accounts. They want to know how much money you raised, and they definitely want to claw back 11.36%. Remember the 1136? We'll always use those figures. As for the 2022 events, we expect all events, all money, all projects to be handed over to Lovedesh, okay? We're inviting you. We can't force you. I know that. I can't force you. But what you're doing is unethical. And then we will write to your funders and say, the Lovedesh Rana Plaza victims are boycotting this, yeah? Number 5, we're organising the Lovedesh Grassroots Tour. Oh yeah, global. We plan to fly in some of the members of the Lovedesh Rana Plaza Victims Group, some garment workers as well, and artisans to attend, not just online, but offline, and with some flown in, if possible, to go on a world tour to help find solutions to fast fashion and climate change, but also to go travelling. There's nothing better than for their mental health to go travelling around the world. I'd love them to go on a tour. So we are doing a worldwide tour, a Asian tour, a Europe tour, a Middle East tour, Far East Asia tour, North America, Latin America. There you go. African tour. Yes, that's right. Because we want them, everyone, to meet them. They want to go around talking about how they want and why they collaborated with Lovedesh. And they also expect and hope to be given platform and voice at, is it COP26? The event in Glasgow. Because have you noticed how climate change is still very much a white, Western, Europe, American narrative? Anyway. And we also expect our little cohort to attend high-profile events such as Global Fashion Weeks, yes, London Fashion Week, Paris Fashion Week, New York Fashion Week, to Davos, as well as COP26. They will also ideally be meeting to educate consumers and brands such as Boohoo, Pretty Little Thing, Misguided, they want a meeting with them in London, as well as the luxury fashion houses running sweatshops. We see you, Christian Dior. That's right, Christian Dior, because guess what? We know about you. Luxury hidden Indian supply chain, okay, that the New York Times did. It was a very good look at that. For many years, Dior, Saint Laurent, and other fashion brands. Okay, so it's behind a paywall at the moment, but never mind. So they want to talk to you. With our help and that of qualified medical professionals and doctors, this world tour will ensure that the grassroots voices of Rana Plaza victims and garment workers are heard, COVID permitting, of course. First up, we plan to open and host, if possible, a tiny event for London Fashion Week in September 16th, 2021. We have 5 days, people. I'm sure we can do something. Come on, over to you. So I'm going to let it be known that I'm expecting Caroline Rush of London Fashion Week to find us space, given that her members of staff ghosted and prevented our T-shirt, yes, and our fashion collection that we raced to do, yeah, luxury, sustainable, from getting space at the London Fashion Week, and we want to have answers. We want an investigation because we found your staff incredibly colonialist and racist and classist. Okay, I don't know, but that's what I'm being told. Also, to get them to attend Cannes, Oscars, BAFTAs and more, because there can be no fashion event now, no red carpet, we believe, and especially climate change events without the involvement of the grassroots, the victims of Rana Plaza, and garment workers, embroiderers or artisans who are or have been enslaved or relatives of those who died making the very clothes being worn by the rich and famous. Number 6, we're also going to establish Lovedesh Films. No, we're sick and tired of not having people brave enough to actually cover our stories. So we are establishing Lovedesh Films to ensure the narrative and point of view from diverse voices within the UK, Global South and nations in Africa, from the global supply chain, as well as a point of view narrative directly, be it fiction or non-fiction. Either they work with Lovedesh, so there's stories to be told there. So, for example, I think Ohidul and Muriam's story needs to be told, as well as Alom. Yeah? Yeah, it needs to be told. Why hasn't nobody thought about doing a film about Rana Plaza? We'd love to. And by the way, at no point is Lovedesh ever blaming the People's Republic of Bangladesh or any of the factory owners. Are continuously, I talk about blaming the foreign brands. Yeah, that's where the problem lies, because much of it needs to be solved because they don't pay. Their story needs to be told directly, or their story is one which the world needs to hear. For example, we wish to help produce Rana Plaza victims and garment workers to create a compelling, inspiring narrative that charts their journey to leave behind this tragedy and look towards the future, and to embark on a new life that follows their attempts to get medically treated in the UK, to go on the world tour, as well as to establish a permanent livelihood that hopefully provides income from Lovedesh profits. We also wish to fund a Rwandan film team, right, who were let down, yes, and I want to apologise to them. The Rwandan film team who were trying to get the film Roots of Forgiveness made that employs many women to create this film. We were due to help them produce this film where they discuss what happened during the Rwandan genocide of the Tutsi. And again, this project was impacted and much damage was done because of the actions of many, including the horrendous actors at Hate to Love Collective, who I was working with, who destroyed and derailed and damaged. So you'll have to go and look at their names. And we're writing to Equity to ask that they be temporarily suspended from any form of Equity membership because of the way they not only bullied me, but also hijacked the work being done to help people who are vulnerable, who can't access the arts. Now, please respond, RSVP, if you wish to help support the making of their story without any strings. Please get in touch, as I'm already due to start talks with producers and others. If your organisation or anyone else you know of may be interested in supporting, feel free to connect, please. Number 7, atelier and merch for London living wages or profit share. So the Lovedesh atelier and merch. We will be using this money to fund our fashion ranges, valise, merch and mint vint. That will be sweatshop-free merch, as sustainable as possible, so that we help contribute to a circular economy. And we definitely need to raise funds for our haute couture line. Embroidery, we want to pay people decent wages. We need to get into and host fashion shows. As Lovedesh is a luxury company, we're able to charge high premium prices for some of the products that we have created. So we've done evening dresses, ties, handcrafted accessories, which will be then their sales profits used to fund the projects we wish to deliver in order to help us protect our people and planet and pay sweatshop-free wages. This includes the Lovedesh Tea 1 and 2 series, as well as the Lovedesh Atelier Studio, which I mentioned, by the way, didn't I? A little studio where we hope to engage and mentor and train up skilled artisans from Asia and Africa, so that eventually all workers can be paid London living wage and attend our workshop in London to be trained up. The Lovedesh Tea Series 1 and Series 2. We were due to be selling the Lovedesh Tea Series 1 limited edition with all production to cease at 11:36 p.m. GMT on the 24th of April. This year, even last year, every single time we've tried, it's been sabotage. Due to the disruption and damage caused to us since 2019 to Lovedesh Tea Series 1, we have had to revise our plans so that we now do this in 2022. So I hope you all get behind us and you stock and you become people who will order this t-shirt. Yes, and all of you should be wearing it during I Remember 1136 because this is going to be the uniform, okay, that everyone should wear to remember them because it's a bit like wearing the poppy. Yeah, this is the equivalent of the poppy, okay, because this is being sold and it's been blessed by victims of Rana Plaza. Number 8 thought leadership project that we are planning to deliver. On the 24th of April 2022, Rana Plaza, Lovedesh, the I Remember 1136 POP, Protect Our People and Planet Global Festival concert. It will showcase the hashtag Shut Up for Rana Plaza, and it will kick off in Savar, Bangladesh. We will try to create a 4-day event kicking off in Bangladesh, and we will hold a 1-minute memorial silence all around key cities in the world that have fashion weeks. Paris, London, New York, Dubai, Tokyo, Shanghai. We're going to hold 1-minute silence. That's right. Come on, everyone. And we're going to have a little concert because guess what? We are hoping to put in a proposal to the Bangladeshi People's Republic of Bangladesh and to the current owner of the Rana Plaza site that the Rana Plaza victims are potentially agreeing to my idea of a I Remember 1136 Garden of Peace in the current site of the Rana Plaza building collapse, which is currently standing still silent, covered by vegetation or some weeds. Yeah, we plan to host a 1-minute silence around the world from cities ranging from Dhaka, Tokyo, Dubai, Brussels, London, New York, etc., and to have some of the biggest music acts. Come on, get involved. You want change, don't you? Come. And we want to host this global and kick off this concert on the 24th of April 2022. We really hope that we can engage VIPs, the British royal family, the fashion celebrities. I'm really hoping the likes of Emma Watson, who we love, many others who are great campaigners will come. And this time it will be Imagine Live Aid, but this time we will make sure it's done correctly and we will involve those in Bangladesh, and it will be a huge boost to the economy of Bangladesh, we hope. And we are already currently in talks with major stakeholders. We ask everyone to join this Lovedesh Pop Fest. That's it, it's called Pop Fest. This hashtag Shut Up for Rana Plaza, which will run from April the 24th to the 27th, 2022, as a 4-day global festival that marks the tragedy in collaboration with the victims, and that all fashion campaigners get under and behind this campaign. I might have got the dates wrong, sorry. But it does kick off for 4 days. So it'll be 24, 25, 26, 27th. Yes. Okay. We are also planning a business symposium as well as literary, theatre and spoken word performances in an attempt to honour the victims of Rana Plaza and to talk about solutions for modern day slavery, sweatshops and the crisis. So it's going to be the first ever combined anti-poverty, climate change, as well as modern day slavery, anti-sweatshop kind of feel-good concert. Okay, I remember. But we want it to be hopeful, inspiring, and we will take all the profits and use it to give back to incredible projects. Number 9, medical treatment. Your funds that we are asking for as compensation will also be used to help Rana Plaza victims who need urgent medical assistance, either in London, abroad, or in Bangladesh. From prosthetic limbs, many are left disabled in wheelchairs, to paying off their debts, to combating PTSD. They don't have any therapy. To therapy for the trauma. And no, I don't want to hear, and I want to talk about justice in fashion. And Sharon, you and I, we had a dispute and we've fallen out. You apparently were one of the archetypes who helped with the financial payments process as a legal bod. Well, let me tell you, the Rana Plaza victims have got a whole load of stories to say about that and how it was really botched and how some people were getting money without even deserving it. It's a whole nightmare. So someone should look at the story of what happened to the Rana Plaza Compensation Fund, which obviously was handled apparently by the ILO, International Labour Organization. Again, the Rana Plaza victims want a session where they want to go through the accounts, by the way, I should let you know. We plan to slowly reach every victim at Rana Plaza and Tazreen, by the way, factory fire. So prior in 2012, in December, I think it was, or was it the autumn, there was a factory collapse or fire, sorry, and many were burned alive. Okay, so there we go. We also are in talks with trying to involve the victims of the Tazreen factory fire. So medical treatment people. And yes, the Rana Plaza victims want accounts from fashion campaigners, and they want to sit down and talk to the ILO and anyone who did their compensation, and they want a report in Bengali dispersed to explain how the funding was dispersed. Okay, they're not interested in the Bangladeshi government. They want any foreign organization. That's all they're interested in. Foreign organizations who may have touched or handled. They want to know how much the lawyers got paid. Okay, so Sharon, I really hope your old law firm will actually come up trumps with that information. And I'm really disappointed about how you and Maria treated me. But, you know, that's all going to come out as well. Okay, because hopefully we can turn a corner and we can actually solve this. We also plan to introduce garment workers to the arts as well as to art and design. So, you know, we said Lovedesh Films, that's one way. Another way is the Hate to Love Collective I showed you. So guess what? This Christmas, we are funding a pantomime and a little short story on bullying. We would like that version to also be in Bengali so we can play it to the garment workers during Christmas time, because I would imagine they deserve a treat after all the Christmas clothes they'll be stitching for fast fashion brands. So we have the Pop Fest Kids for Christmas Kids. That's right. Did you know last year Lovedesh sponsored and helped get children, British children, as well as the incredible Dan Biddle, who's a 7/7 survivor, to give an address? Okay, well, I'm hoping that as Christmas is a season of goodwill, to extend compassion to ask each of you from the organisations who hurt us and instead begin working with us to help mark the annual anniversary of the tragedy in a new way, so we can stop the hurt and to ensure you do right to the wrong done, and that we can all smile and be happy. Okay, so I'm very pleased to announce that a second Christmas show that Lovedesh is sponsoring, given we set up Hate to Love Collective, a not-for-profit theatre show that aims to create well-being and laughter and give advice and help with mental health. It's theatre for the broken-hearted. The flyer from 2021 is below, which featured opening keynote speech by Dan Biddle, the survivor of the 7/7 terror attack, Ivan Humble, a former far-right turned peace activist, and 3 British kids who incredibly jumped up, all of whom stepped in to help me after yet another horrific attack undertaken by greedy, horrid cohort of British adult performers who bullied and hijacked my show after I raised ethical concerns and safeguarding issues. The online tickets will be priced £11.36 for online, while the offline ticket prices will be £36.11. The show was designed to help fund gifts for children in Africa, Asia and UK who are in crisis during Christmas. And in particular, we would like to support those whose parents are garment workers, okay? As well as foster talent from hard-up kids and adults unable to access arts training, get them to perform. Agreed? The next idea we have, okay, so we've got 7, 8. My goodness, I need to take a sip of water. Guess what's coming out? Because obviously many of the fashion magazines wouldn't touch us with a barge pole. Of course they wouldn't, because they take advertising from many of you, or they find themselves complicit because they've been backing you. So we now want to bring out our own magazine, of which the editorial board will be staffed by some of the victims of Rana Plaza and garment workers. So the Lovedesh Protect Our People and Planet e-zine. It'll be online. With the help of jobless garment workers and victims of modern-day slavery and garment workers, we are launching a new free magazine to feature ethical luxury fashion and beauty trends and innovations, as well as pioneering tech solutions that will help protect our people and planet. We expect it to be in the style of Vogue and will feature VIPs and celebrities. It will be directed at consumers as well as the business sectors that cover fashion, food and travel, retail and wholesale trade, and curated by the garment workers, led by guest editorial team who will volunteer. We wish to publish this as a supplement online without having to rely on any advertisements, as we now realise that often there is a conflict of interest editorially when having to hold rich brands' organisations to account. I'm inviting anyone to provide opinion pieces and articles for free, and we will never take payment. Having said that, I've just thought about it. I've just said, oh, we're going to issue it for free. It could be that we do a subscription, actually. We will actually do a paywall and a subscription. I don't know. It's up for debate, okay? But we will never take payment from advertisers, because as soon as you take payment from advertisers, it ruins the whole editorial. Nor feature any adverts, nor ads or PR sponsorship from brands. Nope, 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 nope. Nobody can buy their way in. It's going to be the first ever independent editorial beauty and fashion and style magazine, as we do not wish for Rana Plaza victims to be beholden to anyone. And we will ask that each month we find a key stakeholder, this is what you can get, to help us produce it, okay? It will be without fear or favour, okay? So, hey, Vogue, Anna Wintour, I tried to contact your office. I really hope you can help us, but feel free to get in touch, as to date, not one of your journalists have found any value in the pioneering work that Lovedesh has been doing. Did you know that? Vogue, the journalists we reached out to, ignore us. And in fact, one was so insulting, who is a freelancer and is written, said, oh, Yasmin, why are you doing this? Why don't you just, why don't you behind the scenes produce the clothes for the designers? I remember feeling really sick, because I don't think she realised how racist that sounds, where she met a woman of colour, and then rather than pushing me, she was asking me to help produce things like my T-shirt, which she loved, for one of her, I think it was her designer friends, who was obviously white, and I was like, no, I'm not going to share my intellectual property, and I'm not going to bail some other white woman who's showing at New York and probably dressing celebrities because she hangs out and has her latte with the greatest respect in, Soho in New York or whatever, while I'm doing all the hard work behind the scenes. No, us women of colour, we don't want to put baby in the corner. No, thank you. And Rana Plaza are most upset, by the way, in Anna Wintour at Vogue, as, we feel Vogue has consistently featured voices of privilege to talk on behalf of garment workers. By the way, we will feature many Lovedesh products in the online publication in order to then use the sales, the profits, to help pay the Rana Plaza victims and survivors for their collaboration. It's not going to be free. They need to get paid. As well as feature for free up-and-coming designers who are not being given a chance by London Fashion Week, because we know it's very snotty. We know it's very racist. We know it's very privileged. We know it's very classist. And we know how white-centric, middle-class, upper-class-centric and non-diverse the fashion weeks remain. And all you do, if you don't mind me saying, is breadcrumb ethnic or working-class talent with the odd nod. No. RSVP, we now wish to appoint an editorial panel. So if any of you or any of you would like to get involved after having obviously put right the wrong done, then please let us know. Number 10, oh my God, I'm exhausted. Projects for good. These include funding climate change projects and projects to combat poverty in UK and abroad. Did you know that we have this T-shirt, but we have other versions of it? So we have one for wildlife. We have one for domestic violence. We also plan to continually be, and this is where it gets very interesting, guess what? We plan to buy dumped stock where possible and print our slogans, okay? This is the original Lovedesh T-shirt, because it has and made by women in a worker-owned factory. We also have our T-shirts currently printed on organic stock, but we try and avoid making new if we can avoid it. So anyway, the point is there is the Lovedesh merch. That merch is either made in Bangladesh by women in a worker-owned factory or in the UK, 100% organic cotton. And we also have other means of productions, and we allow our customers to choose their form of production. So they might say, Yasmin, I want it to be made from the one in Bangladesh. We also have a version called Rana Plaza. We give jobs to Rana Plaza victims who actually find dump stock, print the relevant slogan and send it over to the UK. Okay, but once we get profits from the merch, they're going to be funding things like building a surfing school for the girls in Cox's Bazar, one of the longest beaches in the world, or, for example, helping to resurrect the extinct fabric Dhaka muslin, because the weavers we work with, they've told me that apparently their great great-grandfather, his limbs were chopped off by the British. So we want to actually get involved in using our merch. And now, and actually, we've been working on developing all of this for the past year, by the way, I'd have you know. Number 11, Rana Plaza Victims and Garment Workers webinar. 11:36 a.m. At some point, they want to have this meeting with all of you. How it's going to be done, I don't know. But those of you in the Hall of Trolls, I think you do need to give them an apology. So we talked about an apology in a meeting. The Rana Plaza victims are also keen to engage in conversation via Lovedesh hosted webinar, where I plan to help outline some of the solutions for the fashion sector. They desire a meeting with all CEOs and foreign senior stakeholders outside of Bangladesh in the global fashion sector, be it fast fashion, luxury fashion, or fashion campaigning. Lovedesh is inviting everyone to attend this webinar with the date to be confirmed. We will then sell tickets with all profits to be donated to the Rana Plaza victims and survivors group so that they can continue to mobilise and get funded. We hope for all such funds to be managed by our voluntary tier trustees. So we're not talking about profits, but we're talking about certain funds that are earmarked, be it the 11.36% clawback we're asking for, or, for example, tickets to this Meet the Rana Plaza Victims conference. Yeah, I think it's going to be a conference actually, yeah? So that they can continue to mobilize and get funded. We hope for all such funds to be managed by volunteer trustees. So we're already in the midst of appointing trustees. If you can recommend trustees to us, that's great, but they've got to be honest and integrity led. If anyone wishes to offer their time or services, please feel free to get in touch with me. We believe this webinar will be the first of its kind in the world to ever platform and promote the voices of the grassroots in fashion. Terms and conditions. We have no intention of taking any of this to court. We don't want to pay legal fees. We don't want to get legal firms involved, nor ask the hard-working public to crowdfund our fees, because you know that's what we'll do if you issue us with legal threats. The compensation amount next can be paid into a crowdfunder below, so the public can see the evidence. Lovedesh and the communities it serves decline to sign any non-disclosure agreement as we seek protection under the United Nations Declaration for Human Rights Defenders. Articles 1, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12 and 13 of the Declaration provides specific protection to human rights defenders, all of which can be found here. So let's go and have a look so you can remind. Here we are. Human rights, okay? So if you're going to come at me, then know that we'll be using this as one of our key defences. In particular, I wish to draw your attention to the following paragraphs. To seek, this is what the United Nations Declaration for Human Rights Defenders says, to seek the protection and realisation of human rights at the national and international levels. To conduct human rights work individually and in association with others, to form associations and non-governmental organisations, to meet or assemble peacefully, to seek, obtain, receive and hold information relating to human rights. Therefore, I feel I can publish in the interest of public interest and into the public domain our disputes, to make complaints about official policies and acts relating to human rights and to have such complaints reviewed. We will also be seeking support from our own British government. So, Prime Minister Boris Johnson, Dominic Raab, because you will know I have an issue. I've put in a complaint about your British High Commissioner, Robert Chatterton-Dixon, especially the Foreign Office, as well as Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who will be sent a copy of the Lovedesh 10+ files, the Hall of Horrors, to ask how he plans to help protect whistleblowers and human rights defenders in the UK, and to prevent political parties such as the Liberal Democrats and others, and including the Conservatives and Labour, from gagging and paying off employees that they hire who whistleblow. And at which point I will be sharing a letter that I got from the Cabinet Office, and apparently there's not much that can be done. So therefore we have political parties who are gagging whistleblowers, who are breaking the law, but fielding candidates at general elections. Just, that's so unethical. Should any of you mentioned in the Lovedesh Hall of Horrors seek to issue legal threats to try and gag me or Lovedesh, again, a reminder, we are poised to launch a crowdfunding campaign and are being backed by Rana Plaza victims who have personally told me this. Anyone who harms Lovedesh also harms us, and we will fight to protect not only the work Yasmin is doing to support, but also to protect us. I showed you the video. Please, please don't come after me, because really the last thing I need is a heart attack. And I can tell you now, I don't want them coming because they will take action even if I die, okay? We will also advise you that should you do so, issue me with legal threats, we will also ask our legal teams to present this open letter to any court or judge and involve witnesses from your organisations. Because we're going to be writing to your, if you don't, no, we're going to be writing to your funders anyway. Everyone needs to get involved, yeah? We will call witnesses in order to demonstrate how some of you continue to benefit financially and continue to establish your credentials in fighting for, say, human rights or establishing your career, when in fact we possess evidence to show many have in fact ended up doing the opposite and harmed the Lovedesh human rights movement and campaigns and the poorest of the poor in the world. Who else? As you can see, you are not the only ones. Every and any individual and organisations who has ever hurt, damaged, stolen from Lovedesh or prevented us from delivering our human rights work has been sent a link to this letter. Many feel it is in the interest of the public to understand the extent to which well-known celebrities and organisations hurt and damage the human rights work undertaken by Lovedesh and me as a CEO, a female entrepreneur, especially a woman of colour and a single parent, who has been left having to handle an invisible disability caused by you lot and many others, okay? This is because Lovedesh attempted a reminder to solve this with you privately, but of course we got nowhere. Now time is of the essence, and we're also not expecting you to make, by the way, any financial gesture. There is doubt. I expect you to probably come at me fighting. And so we want to bring to the public's attention the damage and destruction done to Lovedesh and how behind the scenes some organisations are using individuals, particularly those from ethnic minorities, to actually harm their own fellow communities. Liberal Democrats. Red carpet, green dress. After George Floyd, the pandemic, the world is a very different place today. The public is no longer tolerant of those who trample over the poorest. And I sat down today to collect compensation and to request it because despite all my hard work to let it all go, I find that Lovedesh is in crisis. And I have spent time during the pandemic understanding this, that had even 5% of you who have hurt the workload chosen to have ended up doing the right thing, for example, saying sorry and instead doing a U-turn and saying, we'll help you, Yasmin. This letter may not have even ever been needed to have been written. This video need have been done. No Lovedesh Hall of Horrors would have existed. And we could have continued on with our hard work. But we just could not. We couldn't do it. Could we? We weren't allowed to do it because the amount of trauma, stress, sabotage done by those of you in the Hall of Horrors, as well as I'll come to the Hall of Trolls, is a disgrace. Gesture of goodwill. Under no circumstances do I, nor Lovedesh, nor the Lovedesh Rana Plaza Victims Group wish to cause any of you distress or harm. That is not our intention. We want you to flourish. We want you to do well. But if it should ever what I'm trying to say is, but it should never have been done at the expense of the work I, my daughter, many others in the Hall of Angels were doing to help Lovedesh, help the world's poorest. All Lovedesh seeks now is please put right the wrong done. That is a very reasonable request. Because it's not okay for you to get away with what you have done to me, to Lovedesh, and to the Lovedesh Rana Plaza Victims Group, as well as the rural villagers, disabled rickshaw drivers, many of the poorest and many of the artisans that we choose and want to work with and have been working with. We have a Palestinian woman, a widow on standby, should have come over. We've got artisans in Kashmir. To show how open and compassionate we wish to be towards our transgressors, here is a series of gestures, okay? Put it right. This is what you can look forward to. We will not seek any further compensation, and I'm more than happy to have legal papers drawn up on this matter to confirm this. Next, Lovedesh would be delighted to invite one representative to the store opening in central London, should this be achieved. We are happy to forgive each of you for the wrong done once you show evidence you are genuine and sincere and put right by doing that which we have asked and invited you to do so. To again invite you one day to join in and support the work we do. Get stuck in, more the merrier. But of course, this will be at our discretion and only after rigorous ethical training undertaken at the Lovedesh Academy. Yeah, that's coming. Conclusion. This is an invitation for you all to do the right thing. If you happen to think the amount of compensation we are seeking is too much, please provide us with an explanation and justification, as we think this is very reasonable due to the evidence presented and the communities we represent. We're more than happy to allow the youth, and especially those on TikTok, to also help you make a decision, because they will guide you. They know what's right. They know what's wrong, okay? Because you all did end up bullying me, a humanitarian, a broke single mother. You trampled over me, my dreams, and the work I'd done for the world's poorest. And there have to be consequences for such actions and horrific treatment by all of the many unethical individuals, organizations who should have known better. Because the work Lovedesh has been doing has been delayed, harmed and damaged. I also wish to show our intention was and is not to defame, nor to hurt and damage. We do not wish anyone to be bullied, hurt, or even lose their livelihoods, nor any form of vigilantism. And anyone seeking to slander or hurt any of you, please get in touch. We will do all we can to ensure your protection, and that anything done will never be in our names nor endorsed, okay? Humans make mistakes because they often allow themselves to become part of processes and policies which are not designed to protect our planet, but in fact uphold and assist individual agendas, greed, status, and corruption. And I hope that by publishing damning evidence against many of you all, especially the campaigners and charities, this is a further proof of how even the most robust and guerrilla activism, for example in the case of Extinction Rebellion, can fall foul to lone wolves operating in a system that allows them to have the power to hurt the weakest in society. My daughter and I spent more than 10 years exploring the root causes of poverty. We have found part solutions. She started when she was 7. We have suffered hardship, homelessness, abuse, domestic violence. Every penny also has been spent rescuing and keeping Lovedesh afloat despite the enormous attacks from many of you. It is unacceptable that me and her and the people we work with could have suffered so much, but we did. And what you did was heartbreaking. And I will never be able to see now the smiles of the poorest folks, especially those who have died, who collaborated with Lovedesh. Life is short. Think of your legacy. Surely you didn't undertake all your hard work and talent to get to where you are, only for Lovedesh to have written you a letter such as this? Should you wish to now ignore, though, or even attempt to take this to court, look, feel free, sue Lovedesh. I'm that sick of greed and corruption, and we have already instructed our small but loyal community of followers online to help us fund a crowdfunding campaign, so that's ready to go. The victims of Rana Plaza will also, I'm telling you again and reminding you, are ready to go on protest on the streets of Bangladesh and write to the Prime Minister seeking help and justice. We don't want that. I'm sure nor do you. So please just do the right thing. Thank you. Yours sincerely, Yasmin Choudhury, CEO of Lovedesh and Lovedesh Rana Plaza Victims Group, LRPVG. And by the way, I forgot to mention Extinction Rebellion. What you did was disgusting, and we are looking to claw money back from you. What you have done, you need to be banned. You have no place in the fashion sector. What you have done by taking and stealing my idea and then collaborating with Stella McCartney, the brand, the luxury brand, whose office I contacted in 2019, and they did nothing. They turned a blind eye. Both of your organizations need to offer compensation, please, because we believe that you took our idea and you took it to Stella McCartney. So it's not okay, because up until I wrote to you, you weren't thinking of fashion. You'd not done anything for fashion. And you then erased and cut us out. It's disgusting. That's why I think you're racist. And I don't want to hear all this, oh, it's just a few individuals. You need to have a tight control. Good night. By the way, we have a crowdfunding. If anyone is moved, this is now almost 2 hours. But please go and visit lovedesh.com. Links will be up.